In this video, let us go through Biology Paper 1, so from 2015 to 2025. This is just to help out those people that are writing the exams soon to revise effectively. So as you can see, from 2015 to 2025, we have about 10 past papers that we are going to, more than 10 past papers that we are going to go through. And this is going to be a long video, and I urge you to stay up to the end. You're going to benefit greatly. So we are going to start with the 2015 paper, and let us see what we have. All right, so this was the 2015 paper, and the first question was, which structures are found in a human sperm cell? Now, a human sperm cell, you know that is an animal cell. So it does not have the cell wall. So where there's a cell wall, it shouldn't be marked. As you have a key here, tick, it shows the present of that part. X shows that that part is absent. So in this case, we shouldn't have cell wall in both cases. So we are going to look at C and D as the possible answers. Now, should have a cell membrane and of course the haploid nucleus. So this case, the answer is C. So for the first question, the answer is C. Haploid is just have a nucleus. You know that the gametes have the number of nucleus. Total in the, chromosomes. 46 chromosomes in the body, but the sex cells have 23 each. Okay, so that is what we call haploid. So the answer is C here. Question 2. The diagram illustrates the effects of osmosis on plant cell that has been placed in liquid Q for several minutes. So as you can see, what has happened to the cell? This is just a normal plant cell. Now, in the second part, there has been the detachment of the membrane from the walls. And this can only happen if it has lost water or if the cell has lost water. Now, the kind of solution in which a cell loses water, it is called hypertonic solution. It means that the solution is more concentrated compared to the inside cell, and therefore the cell loses water by osmosis. And therefore here the answer is B. Question 3. The diagram shows the effect of temperature on a chemical reaction which was controlled by enzymes. At what point are most product molecules formed? So for question 3, at what point are product molecules formed? We are looking at the point where the enzyme has maximum activity, and that is at its optimum temperature in this case, and that is found right on top there. So the answer to this question is C. Okay, so we go to question 4. An organism being examined under a microscope was found to have 3 body parts and 3 pair of legs. To which class of organism does it belong? To which class of organisms does it belong? So this is typical of insecta or insects. But have a look at also what are those that are found under Dipropoda, Arthropoda, and also arachnids. So have a look at also this part. Then question 5. The diagram shows a photosynthesizing plant. The rate of photosynthesis is measured by bubbles of gas released. So we have light here. Of course, this is water. We have, the plant. Now, this plant photosynthesizes in water. Which factor in the water was limiting? Which factors in water was limiting? So the factor that was limiting here is carbon dioxide. Okay, so the factor that was limiting is carbon dioxide. Question 6. The table shows the results of 2 food samples that were tested. The table shows the results of 2 food samples that were tested. One, as you can see, one, it was tested for iodine, or using iodine, it turned brown. Then when it was tested with Benedict, it turned orange. Bullet, it turned blue. Then 2, blue-black for iodine. Then blue for Benedict, violet for Bullet reagent. Now, very important to know what these reagent test. So this test for starch, this one tests for reducing sugars. This test for proteins. Now, presence of starch show blue-black. So where there's blue-black, it means the sample had starch. Then Benedict solution test for reducing sugar. The pleasant of reducing sugar turns orange, yellow, or brick red. So orange is there, so pleasant of. So solution A or sample A had reducing sugars. Bullet, violet. Where it turned violet, it means pleasant. So sample 2 had starch and proteins, while sample 1 only had reducing sugar. Now, what do these results show? Sample 1 contained starch and sugars. Is it true? No, only sugars. Sample 1 contained starch only. Is it true? Sample 1 for starch, it turned brown, which is the color of iodine, so it was absent. Sample 2 contained starch and protein. Starch pleasant, protein present. So the answer here is C. Okay. Question 7. The diagram shows the breakdown of nutrients. Which of the following identify P, Q, and R? Now, what nutrient is this? This is a fat or lipid. So it has fat acid and glycerol. This is a fat. This is glycerol, that fat acids. So lipids, glycerol, fat acid. So the answer is C right here. Okay, let us move to question 8. What is the total number of teeth on the upper jaw of a rat with a dental formula? So the dental formula of a rat is here. In the case you are not able to see it, incisors 1, 1, canines 0, 0, then premolar 0, 0, then molar we have 3, 3. So you're saying what is the total number of teeth on the upper jaw? So on the upper jaw, just simply add what is on top. So this plus that, then multiply by 2. So 1 plus 3 is 4. Multiply by 2, you're going to have 8. Okay, so that is the answer. So B is the answer. Question 9. The diagram represents the cross-section of the parts of a plant. From which part of the plant was this section cut? So this is monocot root. So monocotyledonous root. Okay. Let us go to question 10. The diagram shows the section through the part of a plant. Which part are responsible for transport of amino acid and sucrose? So which one are responsible for transport of amino acid and sucrose? Now, when you talk of amino acid and sucrose, these are materials that are transported in the phloem. So in other words, here we are looking for which one is the phloem. So the phloem is Z. So these materials are transported in Z and Z. The answer being C. All right. So that was question. That was question 10. Let us look at question 11. A green plant starts to wilt. It then watered, and after a short time, it recovers. What process caused this recovery? Now, when the plant wilt, it means it has lost water. Its cells are flaccid. And of course, watering it make a cell to absorb water. Now, how does water reaches the other part of, the plant, that is the stem? Is it assimilation? No. Is it active transport? No. Is it respiration? No. It is transpiration. So transpiration enables the water to be absorbed from the ground, creating the suction force, or it creates the suction force, which makes it possible for water to be absorbed from the root and it reaches the cell or the plant or all parts of the plant. So the answer here is D. Question 12. When the skin is cut, the blood clots. In which order would the component of blood becomes involved? So as we go on, also I'll get to predict some of the parts that you need to look at in terms of possible questions that you expect. So blood clotting, I've not seen it in section that is section B, where you need to write as a question. So the process of blood clotting, you need to know it. Now, how does it flow? So it all starts with a platelet that releases enzymes that act on the plasma protein fibrinogen, converting it to fibrin. Then fibrin this is an insoluble part which traps red blood cells. So in other words, the answer is D. So question 12, the answer is D. Question 13, the diagram shows shows a double circulatory system. Which vessel carry oxygenated blood? Now, the one that carry oxygenated blood is the one that is leaving the heart, and also the one that is the one that is leaving the heart. So to all part, look at this, capillary of the lungs. So the one that is from the lungs going to the heart carry oxygenated blood, because blood normally goes to the heart for oxygenation and is taken to the heart so that it can be supplied to all parts of the body. So also the one that is leaving, which is 4. Look at this, capillaries of the rest of the part of the body. So it goes to the rest of the part of the body only that is oxygenated. So therefore 2 and D, 4 is the answer. So the answer here is D as well. Okay, now let us go to question 14. Which feature of the ovules decreases the distance over which oxygen and carbon dioxide molecule diffuse? Which feature of the ovules decreases the distance over which the oxygen and carbon dioxide diffuses? A, each ovulus has a large blood vessel or blood supply. No. B, each ovulus is only 0 point in diameter. Is it? There are numerous ovulus in the wall of the ovulus are only 1 cell thick. So this is the answer. Question 15. The diagram below shows the respiratory organ in fish. In which of the labeled part does gaseous exchange take place? So gaseous exchange take place in the lungs, and to be specific, the filament part of the lungs. So the answer is C, because C is pointing at the lungs. Then question 16. The table below shows the aspects of respiration. Which row is correct for anaerobic respiration in plants? So anaerobic respiration in plant is called alcoholic fermentation, and that produces alcohol and carbon dioxide, and in this case low amount of energy. So amount of energy released per glucose molecule, so supposed to be low. So those that have high, we are not going to look at them. So you consider B and D. So low, yes. Carbon dioxide produced, alcohol produced, carbon dioxide produced, yes. So this is the answer, which is B. So question 16, the answer is B. Let's go to question 17. The chemicals in tobacco smoke leads to the breakdown of the tissue of the ovules. What name or chemical in tobacco smoke leads to the breakdown of tissues of ovules walls? What name is given to this condition? So breaking down of ovules walls or bursting of ovules is called emphysema. So the condition is called emphysema. It's the one that results into swelling of the ovules and eventually burst, okay, reducing the surface area for gaseous exchange. So the answer therefore is the emphysema. That is question 17. Okay, let us look at question 18. The apparatus demonstrate the process of respiration. So this one is all to determine whether respiration took place. Now, how do you do it? One, you know that respiration to take place, in this case aerobic respiration, it requires oxygen. Now, in the setup, where do we get oxygen? Oxygen comes from air. Now, the air that we are taking in here from this side, as you can see, air in. So this air contains oxygen, contain carbon dioxide, contain other gases, but let us be interested in these two. So we cannot push the air that has already or that has carbon dioxide in it, because respiration itself, after respiration has taken place, the only thing that we are going to tell if respiration took place is when carbon dioxide is produced. So we need to remove carbon dioxide before it gets to the plant that we want to look at if respiration took place. So what do we do? So soda lime here is just there to remove carbon dioxide from the air. And in this case, when the air is pushed, it is passed through lime water in X here, and that is to check if carbon dioxide is still there in the what? In the air. So if it was removed here, it will not be present here. And how do we know that? Lime water changes cloudy in the presence of carbon dioxide. So without carbon dioxide, or if this liquid turns clear or stay clear, it means carbon dioxide was removed, and it is expected. So lime water here stays what? Stays clear because carbon dioxide was removed. Now the air that comes out now, coming to here, only contains oxygen. You know, oxygen is needed for respiration. And now when this plant respire, it produces carbon dioxide as a byproduct, and we can test it from here. And when carbon dioxide is produced, the lime water turns milky or cloudy. So that shows that respiration took place. So what was going to be? We are going to have X stays clear, then goes cloudy. And the answer here is C. Okay, I guess I've explained something to help someone. And this part, I've not seen it also in section A. You might expect this one. So have a look at how this experiment is carried out. We proceed to question 19. Which conditions are necessary for germination of seed or most seeds? Condition for germination, another point or another part that you need to look at, explain the condition necessary for germination. So what are they? Suitable temperature, not light, but suitable temperature, then oxygen and the water. So we are certain where there's oxygen and water should be marked. So here that have water not marked, we don't consider them as the answers. We are going to go to C and D. Water is marked and oxygen is ticked. Okay, ticked. But we need light? No, because the seeds do not have leaves to photosynthesize. Light mostly is used for photosynthesis, so that's why we don't need it. So it has to be cancelled. So therefore, D become the possible answer. What do you think is the answer here? Be able to explain it in the comment section. Okay, question 20. The diagram shows the simple dialysis machine. Okay, as you can see, I guess you can see. So the dialysis machine, please, you need to look at it as an external kidney. And the function of a kidney is just to remove urea from the blood. So the blood that is from the patient, that is blood entering from here, blood from the patient, because someone who uses the dialysis machine is someone who has a problem with the kidney. So the blood from the patient has a lot of urea. Now when it enters here, it passes through this tube, okay, around the fluid, which is called the dialysis fluid. The dialysis fluid has a concentration equal to that of the blood, but except urea, so that urea can leave. So at Y there, you expect the blood, as it goes back to the patient, to have no urea. So what is the question? The substance in the blood at X, which should not be found in the blood at Y. So one should not be found is the urea. I guess I've explained a bit here. And also the dialysis machine is one possible question that you can find and how it works. So as you go in an exam, make sure that you familiarize yourself with this part. Up to question 21, which of the following is excreted by plants only? Which of the following is excreted by plants only? No doubt, alkaloids. So excretion in plants. Do you know about excretion in plant? So this is the part that most of you might not even consider as something that exists. So look at excretion in plants and also excretory product. Be able to compare it in man and of course in plants. That is also another question. Then question 22. When a person is cold, nerve impulse from the hypothalamus cause the skin to reduce the rate of heat loss. So the key thing here, when the person is cold. So we are in the cold condition here. What is the effect of the nerve impulse on the hair erector muscles and on the arteriole? So when you are in the cold, the body wants to conserve heat. And what it does in terms of hair erector muscle, it contracts so that the hair can be upright. Now, standing of hair on the skin traps the layer of air, creating an insulation. So the hair erector contract. So these that are relaxed, we don't need them. Arteriole near the skin. So the arteriole near the skin constrict, reduces in size so that less blood can pass near the skin, so that doesn't lose heat by evaporation or other method or other ways. So in this case, is contract, constrict. So the answer is A. Up to question 23. The diagram shows the shoot which has been placed horizontally. The shoot begin to grow upwards. Okay, so the shoot begin to grow like this. What caused the shoot to grow upwards? Now, when it grows like this, it means at this section or on this section, the cell are elongating, the cell elongation more than on the other side. So, more cell elongation at P, more cell elongation at Q than at P. The answer is D. Question 24. The diagram shows the structure involved in leaf flex action. So, as you can see the structure, the correct sequence of impulse through this structure is, so starting from the sensory, which is the Q, then it goes to the end part, as you can see, will be P. So Q and P. Do you have the one that has Q and P? Yes, which is C. This is the easy way you can look at the answers. So make sure that you go for what you know. Then, of course, at the end, you find that you even find the answer before you even check other things. Diagram or question 25, the diagram below shows the cross-section through the brain. Which part is the center for processes such as the thought, memory, and judgment? This is the center of intelligence, or that is intelligence, and that is the cerebrum. What is the function of a cerebellum? What is the function of the medulla? What is the function of the pituitary? Or what is the function of the hypothalamus? You need to know the function of the parts of the brain. That is one of the questions that came 2024, if I'm not mistaken, on the essay question. And this time around, who knows? Maybe you find the whole brain. That is section A. So make sure that you understand this part. Let us look at question 26. Which of the following shows the apparatus or the appearance of the iris, the pupil? Okay, which one shows the appearance of the iris and the pupil of the eye when viewing the object in dim light? So in dim light, actually what happens is that the pupil increases in size so that more light can enter. So what happened to the muscle? The muscle of the iris, that is the radial muscle. The radial muscle relaxes. Is it? The radial muscle, yeah, relaxes, if I'm not mistaken. So the radial muscle relaxes while the sacral muscle contracts. So radial muscle, I should have said radial muscle, that is in dim light. So we are looking at, let me just read the question again. Which of the following shows the appearance of the iris of the eye when viewing the object? Okay, so let us answer question 26. So for question 26, which of the following shows the appearance of the iris and the pupil of the eye when viewing an object in dim light? So which one? So what happened? So the pupil increases in size so that more light can be accommodated. Now here what happened is that you know that iris has two of the muscles, that is the sacral and the radial muscle. So what happened to the radial muscle is that it contracts, then the sacral muscle relaxes. So here the answer is B. Question 27. Which two bones from the ball and socket joined of the shoulder, or which two bones from the ball and socket joined of the shoulder? So which two bones? So it is the humerus and the scapula. So the answer is C. Question 28. The diagram shows a vertebra. To which region of the vertebral column does it belong? So the easiest way to differentiate them is to look at this part that I've circled, which is called the neurospine. And also to look at, I think the neurospine is the one that differentiates the most. So this one is long in the lumbar region. Okay, so lumbar region. So very important also to know this part. Questions, these are possible questions, maybe to name the part and also the functions. Or in section A, that is paper 2, you might find this, or there are questions on this. So very important that you know this as you also study. Question 29, the diagram shows the Irish potato in natural vegetative propagation. What type of organ is this? So this is known as stem tuber. Okay. So also under vegetative propagation, look at the natural and also artificial. These diagrams, very important that you also know the diagrams. Question 30, what type of seed dispersal is shown in the diagram? So where the pod explode, this is what we call self-dispersal. Question 31, diagram shows the female reproductive system in which numbered parts does ovulation, fertilization, and implantation take place. So ovulation takes place in the ovary, which is 2. So we expect the answer that start with a 2. So we have this start with 3 and that one, we don't need it. Then of course, fertilization occur in the oviduct, that is 1. So we need 1, yes. So this. Then what about implantation? Occurs in 3. So it occurs in 3 and not in 4. So the answer therefore is B. Question 32. Which of the following is the hormonal and which of the is mechanical method of conception? Which of the following is a hormonal and which of the following is mechanical method of contraception? So hormonal is a pill. So these that have condom, we don't need them. So it's a pill. Then of course mechanical method. So for mechanical method is intrauterine device. So the answer is D. Question 33. How is bilharzia spread? How is bilharzia transmitted, I mean? So how is bilharzia transmitted? So bilharzia is transmitted by swimming in contaminated water. So C. Question 34. BCG vaccination against tuberculosis is an example of. So BCG vaccination where the vaccine is introduced in the body of the human, and that stimulates the production of antibodies. So antibodies are stimulated by the introduction of this vaccine into the body, and that is done artificially. So this is artificial active immunity. Okay. And of course, you should be able to look at what kind of, or what are these immunity, please. So you should be able to look at these types of immunity. That is active, artificial, natural. That is active, artificial, natural active, artificial active, natural passive. Okay. So these you should be able to know them. And I guess at some point I'll get to explain because we are going to meet a lot of questions just on this part. The diagram below shows the food chain that the glass receives 10,000 kilojoule of energy from the sun. The diagram below shows a food chain. The glass receives 10,000 joule of energy from the sun. So initial energy here from the glass is 10,000 kilojoule. Then what is transferred to the next one is just 10% of this 10,000. 90% is lost. So what would be the energy for the glass? So 10% of 10,000. You know percentage is out of 100. So if you multiply, you're going to have 1,000. So here the energy will be 1,000 kilojoule. Now also this 1,000, 90% is lost. So what would be for a snake? So 10% of 1,000. So this you're going to have 100. Okay. Now 100 is here. Now for a snake to pass it the next one, 90% is lost. So what would be for the hook? So 10% of 100. So there you're going to have 10 kilojoule. So here you're going to have 10 kilojoule. So the answer therefore here is E. If you want, you can calculate 90% of that, then of course subtract from the initial energy, find what was passed to the next one. But I feel calculating 10% of what is passed to the next one is the easiest way to do this. Okay, we proceed to question 36. The diagram below shows the carbon cycle. What processes are represented by P and Q? P and Q. So this is the carbon cycle. So the arrows shows where the carbon is going. So for this P, we are looking at plants producing carbon. So it's putting carbon into the atmosphere, and that is through respiration. Okay, respiration. So P is respiration. So we don't need photosynthesis. Where there's photosynthesis for P, we don't need that. Then Q, the plants are using carbon dioxide. That is photosynthesis. So photosynthesis, respiration, photosynthesis is the answer. Question 37. Which of the following effect of man on the ecosystem is reduced by proper treatment of sewage? So untreated sewage cause eutrophication or reduction in the oxygen level in water. Okay, so the answer is increase in, let me see, death of fish due to lack of oxygen. No, the answer is B. Okay, question 38. Which of the following human feature is an example of continuous variation? Now, variation is just the differences that exist among the organism of the same species anyway. So when you talk of continuous, we are looking at the characteristics that have intermediate between the extreme. Like say, for example, height. You have the shortest person and the tallest person, but within the between the shortest and the tallest, we have a lot of height, lot of intermediate leaves. That is what we call continuous. For discontinuous, there are no intermediate leaves between. You either have the characteristics or you do not have it. So for example, foot size. We have different shoe size, foot size among the humans. So this is the one that show continuous variation. Sex can either be male or female. Blood group, you can be blood group A, blood group B, blood group AB, or blood group O. Okay, what do you think of types of teeth? So types of teeth also, when we talk of types of teeth, we have canines, we have incisors, canines, we have premolar, we have molar. Every one of us have those. So that is not the discontinuous. Okay, or that is not continuous. Question 39. The diagram shows the family tree of two parents, both of blood group A. So this one is blood group A, blood group A. Now, for a key is showing that this shaded is blood group O. Okay, so here, despite this parent being blood group A, they have one child who is blood group O. Now, blood group O, the genotype is O. Now, where does this allele come from? One from the father, then the other one from the what? From the mother. So part of the blood group of the parents, each one of these is O. Part of the blood group is what? Is O. Now, what is the blood group of these? They are saying blood group A, which means these are heterozygous A, which means A, O, and also A, O, because A allele is dominant. Okay? So this is the genotype of the mother, the father, or the mother and the father. So when you look at the offspring here, what are the genotype of 1, 2, and 5? So 1 is AO. Then what about 5? 5 can be, look at this, because we have A, O, and A, O. It is possible to have someone with AA, then the rest can be AO, and also we can have OO. So here, either AA or AO is the possible genotype for 3. So therefore here, for me, I'm going for C. What do you think is the answer? Is it D? So be able to comment in there, be able to put up a comment, and of course explain the reason why you support your answer. Question 40. A person with Down syndrome is born with 46 or 47 chromosomes in each of his or her cell instead of 46. What could cause this? So normally what causes Down syndrome is mutation. Okay, so let us look at it. A, mutation happened during the production of the ovum. More than one sperm fused with the ovum? No. Radiation changes structure of a gene in the father's sperm. The mother was exposed to chemicals while she was pregnant. So what do you think is the answer here? So also this, I leave it open. So make sure that you indicate, let's say 2015, question 40, the answer is A, B, or C, and explain the reason why. Otherwise, I'll be able to check and to verify with my answers. That has been 2015. Now, up to this point, are you ready for the exams? Have you enjoyed? So do not forget to subscribe. So please, the support that you can give me, if after watching you do subscribe to my YouTube channel, it will help to reach a lot of learners and of course to help out. So don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel and make sure that you turn on the notification bell. Share with others. Okay, let us look at the next paper. So this is a 2016 paper. It was written on 26th August 2016, about 9 years ago. Let us see. The first question, which of the following is not a characteristics of living organism? Which of the following is not a characteristics of living organism? So, egestion, excretion, growth, sensitivity. Which of the following is not a characteristics of all living organisms? Okay, so let us look at the 2016 paper now. So for this one, it was written on October 26th, 2016, about 9 years ago. Let us look at what we have here. So for the first question, which of the following is not a characteristics of all living organisms? One thing that I'll urge you at this point is that before you answer a question, don't use experience in answering the questions. Because you saw them somewhere and the answer was B, you expect it to be B this time around. Understand the question and now answer the question. So the understanding of the question is that these are characteristics of living organism, but in not all living organism. Which one is that? Egestion. Excretion, all living organisms excrete. Grow, they grow. Sensitive, they are sensitive. But egestion, which is just a removal of undigested food through the anus, you are aware that plants, they do not have that. So they do not excrete, do that egestion. So the answer is A. Question 2. Some stages in the preparation of epidermis of onion for observation under microscope are listed below. So these are stages that are listed below. So 1, focus the microscope. 2, place the epidermis on the glass slide. 3, peel the epidermis from an onion. 4, cover the epidermis with a glass. Then add iodine solution. So you all start by peeling. So peel the epidermis from, so we need the answer that is starting with 3. So already these, we cannot look at them. So let us go for C and D. What is the next one? So after peeling, so peel from the onion. Then place on the glass slide. So place it on the glass slide. So we are going to go 3, 2. Okay, let us see. What is the next one? The next one, add iodine solution. So you add iodine solution. So 5. Then cover it. What do you do? Cover it with cover the epidermis with a clip. Then now that is when you focus under the microscope. So the answer is C right here. Question 3. The diagram shows an experiment to demonstrate biological processes. So as we can see, concentrated sugar solution at the beginning, at the end, 2 hours later. So you can see at the beginning, here there's a membrane. Then at the end, you find that it's fully distributed everywhere. Okay. Now, what processes are responsible for the movement of water and the dye? What processes are responsible for the movement of water and dye? The process of water movement is osmosis, no doubt. So this and that cancels out. Then what about the movement of the dye? So is it translocation? Is it diffusion? So in this case, we are going with diffusion. So the answer is B. What do you think is the answer? Do you have another reason or do you have another explanation for the answer that you have aside from B? Be able to explain that. We proceed to question 4. A food sample solution was mixed with 2 cubic centimeter or centimeter cubic of the Benedict solution and gently heated for 2 minutes. What is the possible observation and conclusion from the experiment? So, when you have a food sample, you test it and heat it, already using Benedict solution. Benedict solution is used for reducing sugars. So the possible outcome we expect for the positive indication of reducing sugars. So possible observation, color turns from blue to orange. Color turns blue to orange. Colors turns blue. So these we remove them. Then we are saying proteins pleasant. No, this is not protein. It's reducing sugars. So reducing sugars, pleasant. So the answer here, question 4, is B. Okay. What about question 5? Which of the components of balanced diet is used to make new enzymes, molecule? Which of the following which of the component of balanced diet is used to make new enzymes? So enzymes are protein nature. That is what we say. One of the characteristics of enzyme. So proteins, which is C. Question 6. Which of these correctly identifies the nutritional related disorder and their causes? Which of the following correctly identifies the nutritional related disorder and their causes? Kwashiorkor is caused by lack of protein. So we don't need carbohydrate. These answers that have carbohydrate. So we focus on C and D. Rickets is calcium, not vitamin C. So already this one has won. Let us confirm for iron. For anemia, that is iron. So the answer here is D. So you can use elimination method, not guess method, but elimination method. It is easier. So try it out. Question 7. What substances contain magnesium and nitrogen in plants? So magnesium is necessary for chlorophyll synthesis. So we need those that start with chlorophyll, so no amino acids. Then nitrogen, look at this. Is it starch? No, it's protein. So the answer is C. Look at how simple it is. The diagram below shows section of a leaf seen under a microscope. That is question 8. In which part is the carbon dioxide concentration the lowest during sun day? Now, the question you ask yourself, what happened during sun day? What happened during sun day is that, or when it is Sunday, the rate of photosynthesis is very high. Rate of photosynthesis very high. Now, what is photosynthesis? What are the raw material for this? Raw material for this is carbon dioxide. So where does photosynthesis take place here? It is B. So you expect the rate of carbon dioxide to be less in B because it is being used up for the process of what? Photosynthesis. Okay, I guess you get the thing. Then question 9. Which of the following is not an important of saprophytic nutrition? 1. Decomposition of dead organic matter, manufacturing of food nutrients, production of antibiotics, recycling of nutrients. Now, which one is which? Now, saprophytes are heterotrophs, which means they feed on saprophytic nutrition. Let me say itself, they feed on dead organic matter, so they do not make food. So the one for manufacturing of nutrients is the one that is not. Now at this point also, as you look at multiple choice, because you guys, it will be more like you're studying. So you get to look at, for example here, what do I take on this question? I will know that function of saprophytic nutrition 1, decomposition of dead organic matter, production of antibiotics, recycling of nutrients. All these are functions. So if you needed to know about the function of saprophytic nutrition, you have them. Okay, so the answer here is C, which is not the function because these feed on already made food. Question 10, the following is the dental formula of a dog. How many teeth are there in the lower jaw of the dog? We've answered such a question at some point. Now it was on the upper jaw. This time around on the lower jaw. So what do? You add this 3 plus 1 plus 4 plus 13. What is the answer? That is the 4, 4, 9. That is the, 8. That is 11. 11 multiplied by 2, that is 22. That is how you answer. So the question is, the answer is C. You look at how you look at the question. So the question sometimes they just come differently, just the opposite part of it. But I'm not saying you start guessing, but you need to understand. Up to question 11, the diagram below shows the human alimentary canal. Which nutrients are digested in the region P, Q, and D, M? Now, this is the stomach. I'm sure this one, what is digested here are proteins. So anything that has something else, we don't need it. So we are going to go to C and D. So proteins. Then here is from the stomach. Immediately there you find the duodenum. Now what is digested in the duodenum? In the duodenum, they are not peptides. Peptides, these happen in the jejunum. So still in the duodenum, you have the saccharide. So what is digested in the duodenum is the, so we can talk of starch. Since this one has failed, so we can go for starch. Then, which means the last one is maltose. So the answer is D. What do you think is the answer here? Okay, so let us proceed to the next question. That is question 12. The chart shows the risk of human heart disease developing in men who smoke cigarette. So as you can see the chart, so we have who smoke 5 cigarettes, that's the number of cigarettes on this part, who smoke 10 cigarettes, who smoke 15, who smoke 20. Then of course the risk there, number of men dying from the disease per 100,000. Which group of men is most at risk? We can look at this. So this is the age. You can see the age 55 to 64 who smoke 20 cigarettes. So if you look at D, men age 54 to 64, 55 to 64 who smoke 20 cigarettes per day. Okay, let us proceed to question 13. Which of the following is the best or best describes how HIV is transmitted? So HIV is transmitted through having sexual intercourse with unprotected sex with someone who is infected. So having sexual intercourse with an infected person. That is the one way to have HIV. Question 14. What type of immunity do the antibodies in mother breast milk? What type of immunity do antibodies in mother's breast milk provide? So this is called natural passive. Okay, that is called what? Natural passive. So the answer is D. I guess I can find time at some point to explain all this. So question 15. In an experiment to investigate transpiration for identical leaf shoot were treated as follows. So shoot 1, upper leaf. So look at this. We are talking about a leaf. I want you to get it very well. We are talking about a leaf. Now, at the bottom of a leaf, this is the top. This is the bottom. At the bottom, we have a lot of stomata. You have a lot of stomata. Therefore, it loses water more at the bottom than on the shiny part, the top part. So, we are told here, these were treated. Now, look at this. Upper leaf surface covered with Vaseline. Now, Vaseline is waterproof. And of course, it forms a layer that prevents, water from evaporating. So upper leaf is covered with Vaseline, then jelly waterproof. So upper leaf, if it is covered on the upper leaf, there's a chance that it will lose water because normally water is lost on the bottom part. So that does not prevent much of, or does not lessen, or does not slow the process of transpiration. So the plant or the leaf is still going to lose water. Then lower part, surface covered. So when you cover the lower surface now, you are reducing the process of transpiration compared to the first one. Okay, so the one that loses most water here is this one, then followed by this one. No, it is this one. So loss of water, this one transpiration is fast, this one becomes slow because you've covered the stomata. Then upper part of a leaf covered, so upper and lower part covered. So this one is the least because this one water will not be lost because it has been covered. Then untreated will be the fastest. So this one will be the first one, which is A, because when shifting to this side, the first one is the one that loses water first. So this one will be 4, then followed by the one that is covered, the one that is covered just on top, which is 1, then followed by the one that is covered, let me see, untreated for upper leaf. So the least one is the one that is covered on the upper and lower, 3, then which means the one that is remaining is the one that is covered on the lower part. Okay, lower surface covered, this is 2. Okay, so this is how the graphs are going to be. Now what is the question? Which line shows the leaf for shoot 1? Show shoot 1, upper leaf covered with Vaseline, so it is B. So the answer here is B. Now look at question 16. Some of the components of the blood of a mammal are listed below. Some of the components of blood of mammal are listed below. Antibodies, fibrinogen, platelets, and D. Which of the two of the components are involved in blood clotting? So one is involved is the platelets. So we are sure that platelets are involved. So anything that has 3 in it. So these are not possible answers. Then fibrinogen. So 3 and 2. So the answer is C. Okay, that is for question 16. Now let us look at question 17. So why is it important to determine the rhesus factor of the pregnant woman? Now have a look at also this rhesus factor. So rhesus factor normally may result into or that is to prevent the hemolytic disease in the fetus. So hemolytic disease called erythroblastosis fetalis may occur because the rhesus factors produces antibodies against that fetus growth. So have a look at this part as well, okay, aside from looking at blood groups. Question 18, the diagram shows the kidney and 3 tubes associated with it. In which tube will the most urea be found? So the blood that goes into the kidney, it goes there to be cleaned of urea. So you expect it to have a lot of urea. But also when urine is formed, the one that is in the ureter or ureter also has the highest because that is the urine. So here, if we were to look at it, the answer can be Y and Z. If there is Y and Z, then that is our answer. But here we do not have Y and Z. We only have X and Z, X and Y. So here we can just go with Z only. Question 19, the diagram shows the skin temperature in human body when it is exposed to cold. So exposed to cold air and then exposed to warm. So from cold to warm. Now, under this one, when you look at homeostasis, have a look at the skin, how it controls or how it prevents the loss of heat. Okay? Very important that you look at this. I have the complete lesson just right on this platform. You need to go through. What causes the observed changes in the skin temperature on exposure to warm air? So when you're exposed to warm air, what happens? There is what we call vasodilation, so that blood can pass through near the skin and lose heat. Also, what happens is to the erector muscle, it relaxes, causing the air to fall. All those. Now, let us look at the answer. Less blood flowing just below the skin. No, it has to be more. So, more blood flowing just near the skin or just below the skin. Question 20. Which of the following result from increased secretion of adrenaline? Decreased breathing rate. So when you have adrenaline produced, you know that it's the flight and fight hormone. So it prepare the body for action by increasing the breathing rate, increasing the supply of glucose to the blood and all that. So which one? So the answer here is D. That is increased supply of glucose in the blood. Okay. Then have a look at 21. A person accidentally steps on the thorn. In which order does the electric impulse move? So from the sensory to the relay to the motor. So the answer is D. Okay, so that is the order. Then question 22. Question 22 is the diagram below shows the muscle which controls the size of the pupil in an eye. We have the circular muscle, the radial muscle, the iris, the pupil. How does the muscle make the pupil large? So how does the muscle make the pupil large? How does the muscle makes the pupil large? So the circular muscle relaxes. So circular muscle relax, so we don't need the one that contracts, relax. Then of course the radial contract. As you know, these work antagonistically, which means when the other one contracts, the other one relaxes. Question 23, the exoskeleton of insect is made up of, so it's made up of a protein called chitin. So the answer is B. The diagram below shows the germinating cereal grain. Okay. So now you can see the direction of light. Now there's a hormone which we call auxin. Auxin is produced much on the section receiving light. So in other words, it's the one that perceives light and of course result into cell division or cell elongation so that this shoot can grow toward what? Toward the direction of light. Now what is the question? What will happen at X if the light shines on the shoot from the direction shown? So what will happen is that rate of growth will increase at X. And of course, amount of auxin will be very high. So the answer here is A. Okay, so have a look at this part under tropic and the tropic responses. Question 25. The diagram below shows the longitudinal section through the shoot apex. What labeled part show the region of elongation? So at the apex there is a growth center. You find there cell division. In the case the question comes a different way. So cell division. Then from cell division B you find cell elongation, ovaculation, and also this at the bottom you find specialization or differentiation. Okay, so the answer therefore is A. And I have a look at my lesson on growth and development. I have a full lessons just on this part. So growth and development, it covers, that is the growth in stem, growth in plants and also in animals where you look at the fly and the mosquito cycle. Then also look at, germination, the process of germination. So all those are the things that you find in the video. 26, the diagram shows the bean, which when planted, the bean seed when planted, and the same seed 2 days later. So the diagram below shows the bean seed when planted and 2 days later. Now the bean seed is the monocot. So let us see the question. Which conditions are necessary for these changes? So which conditions are necessary for germination? Because that is what happened to the seed. So suitable temperature should be ticked. Presence of water should be ticked. Carbon dioxide should be, no. Carbon dioxide should not be ticked, but oxygen should be ticked. So let us see. So where there is suitable temperature not ticked is not the answer. Where there is oxygen not ticked is not the answer. So we focus on B and C. So what should not be ticked is carbon dioxide. So the answer is B. What term is used to describe the process in which new individual gradually grows from the parent and eventually break out or separate? This is called budding. Question 28. Which of these correctly identifies the natural and artificial method of propagation? So it is comb, then grafting. All these, make sure that you look at them. Then question 29. The flower shows adaptation of wind or insect pollination. Which of the following adaptations are found in wind pollinated? So wind pollinated, the anther is loosely attached, so not firmly attached but loosely attached. Nectary do not have nectary, so absent. Then stigma. The stigma in wind pollinated, the stigma is shorter, okay, or inside the flower. Is it inside the flower? No, it should be outside the flower. So the stigma is outside the flower so that it can easily trap the pollen grain. Okay, so it is outside the that is outside the flower. So the answer here is D. Question 30, the diagram shows part of the placenta, as you can see, if you can see the diagram. In which numbered part does the blood contain highest amount of oxygen and nutrients? So the one that comes from the mother, that is in the artery, has a lot of oxygen, so 1. And the one that goes now to the baby, that is the umbilical artery. Okay, so umbilical artery. So for me, I'll go to 1 and 3. What is the answer there? Okay, what is the answer there? So be able to put up in the comment section. Question 31, the diagram shows part of the female reproductive system. As you can see, which part is cut during vasectomy? So vasectomy involves cutting the sperm duct. Okay, so, or the vas deferens. So that is A. Question 32, which of the following is not the cause of infertility in human being? So A, alcoholism is one of the cause, blocked oviduct is one of the cause, weak sperm is one of the cause. So in this case is use of antibiotics. Then question 33, which of the following are correct example of continuous and discontinuous variation? So for continuous variation, we have height. Anything else? Eye color. So is just the height. Then discontinuous eye color. So the answer is A for 33. Okay. Is A for 33. So let us look at 34. The diagram shows the group of some members of a family. That is, as you can see. What are the blood genotype of the parents, P and D, Q? So let us look at the key, male, female. Blood group. So this child is blood group AB, this is blood group B, that is blood group O. Now, if there's a child who is blood group O, which means part of the blood group of the parent is O. Because blood group O, you know that it's O, O, and one allele from the father, one from the mother. So expect the father to have O, the mother also to have O. Part. Okay, so we have a child who is AB. Already we know that one of these parents should be A, the other one should be what? B. So where you find A, O, B, O, that is the answer, not this. So A, O, B, O. Yeah, this. So the answer is A. Question 35, what type of plant are shown in the diagram above? What type of plants? So, what types of plants are these? What do you think are the types of plants? So look at this. Ferns do not produce flowers. I can see something here, I can see something here, but ferns do not produce flowers. So with my eyes, I can see 3 to be the ferns. So the one that starts with 3, which means moss, is 4. Angiosperm are flowering plants, which is 2. At least I can see the flower there. Then, of course, coniferous, we can talk of 1. So, which one do you think is the answer here? So, as far as I can see, that is what I can see, and therefore the answer is C. Question 36, the diagram below, or the diagram shows an experiment to find out the proportion of air in the soil sample. That is the 40 cubic centimeter or so added. Okay, so we are finding the proportion of air in the sample. So look at the experiment. Now, what was the percentage of air content by volume of the soil? Okay, so what is the answer to this question? So this is question 36 of 2016. So what is the answer to this question? Be able to comment, write the question number and the year. What is your answer? Question 37. The following organisms are found in an ecosystem: snake, grass, grasshopper, and birds. Which of the following features or which of the following food chain correctly represent the feeding relation in an ecosystem? So for feeding relation, you need to start with the producer. So, no, yeah, the producer, which is the grass. So you're going to start with 1. Then now, the primary consumer, which is 3. Then now, the secondary, which is the bird. Then now, from the bird, you can go to the snake. Oh, what is number represent the bird? So, 4, then 2. So expect to find 1, 3, 4, 2. 1, 3, 4, 2. 1, 3, 4, 2. So the answer is B. The diagram below shows the simple food web. As you can see, which of the following organism in the food web is primary consumer? So primary consumer are the ones that feed the only producer. The producer is a plant. So all these that feed here, this one are what we call primary consumer. So we have the rabbit and the mouse. So do we have the rabbit? Do we have the mouse? So we only have the rabbit. So the answer is the rabbit. The diagram below shows part of the carbon cycle. What process is represented by the arrow X? So from animals, it goes to the atmosphere. This is a carbon cycle. Plants or animals contribute to carbon dioxide in the atmosphere through respiration. So therefore, the answer is D. Question 40. Which 2 poisonous substances are found in metal exhaust fume? What is the answer to this question? So this is not me just answering the question, but we are going to answer the questions together. So also here, question 40, make sure that you answer it, okay? Have you enjoyed up to this point? Please do not forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel. Do not forget to share with others. Let us revise together as we prepare for paper 1. And also it's a motivation for me to see that indeed people are benefiting. So you need to support by subscribing. All right, let us proceed. So let us answer the GCE 2016 paper, biology paper 1. So what was the first question here? Which characteristic of living organism is described by the following? Permanent increase in size or permanent increase in size of an organism. This is the growth. So you need to know the characteristics of living organisms. That is the movement, excretion, respiration, growth, movement, and all that. So you need to know all those. Question 2. What are the correct function of the following specialized cells? Root hair cell is absorption of water, phloem conduction of sucrose or organic material, then xylem conduction of water. So absorption, conduction of sucrose, then conduction of water. The answer is A, no doubt. Question 3. The diagram shows the apparatus used to investigate osmosis. As you can see, narrow tube, level of water, concentrated solution, distilled water. So initially we have this tube with concentrated solution inside, then outside you have distilled water. So expect this water to leave and comes out, and the solution is called hypotonic solution. Now, what are the questions? No, you expect the solution to, please, here let me just make some amendments. Here, since it's concentrated inside, so expect the water to go inside, and of course the level here to do what? To increase. So increase in level. So what is the answer? Molecules that pass through the selectively permeable membrane is the water. There's water outside here, so it closes the membrane into the inside. So what passes is water. So here, not the answer. Level of P. So level of P will increase because water closes. So the answer is D. Let us continue. Question 4. In the phylum Arthropoda, which of the following characteristics correct identifies the class Insecta? So some of the questions that we've answered, you know that insects, they have 3 body parts and of course 3 pairs of legs. So number of many body parts is 3. So those that have 2 and 4, no. Pair of legs is 3. Pair of wings, it is, what is the pair of wings here? So we have 3, 2. Okay, 3, 3. Then what is the pair of what? What is the pair of wings? So for this one, the pair of wings is 2. So the answer therefore is C. So 3, 3, 2. The pair of wings is 2. Okay. Which of the following signs indicate that a plant is lacking magnesium? So lacking of magnesium, this is chlorophyll. So lack of chlorophyll results in what we call chlorosis. That is chlorosis, if I'm not mistaken with the spelling, but otherwise just a lack of chlorophyll. So yellowing of leaves. So yellow leaves and the yellow stem. So that is the result. What do you think is the answer here? Then question 6. The diagram shows the amount of oxygen produced by the green plant growing outdoor during 24 hours period, which later represent the midday. So oxygen produced, green plant. So oxygen is produced when the rate of photosynthesis is high. So the level of oxygen during which later represent midday. So midday you have a lot of light, and therefore you expect the rate of photosynthesis to be high, and oxygen is produced the most. So we only have these that have the highest point. So the answer is A. Question 7. Which substances are needed for the formation of healthy bones and teeth? No doubt, calcium and vitamin D. So calcium and vitamin D. Question 8. The diagram shows the alimentary canal. Which labeled structure produces an acidic digestive juice? Which structure produces an acidic digestive juice? So the structure that produces an acidic digestive juice here is the stomach. So which arrow is pointing at the stomach? It is A. Question 9. The diagram below shows the villus. Which of the following correctly describes the function of the numbered parts? So the numbered parts, in as much as we can see them, so these are blood vessels, that is for 1. Then of course 2 is pointing at the lacteal. Then of course here it is pointing at the epithelium. So 1, we are saying 1, absorb digestive fat. No. Absorb digestive fat. So this is that absorb digestive fat. Digestive fat is by the lacteal. So absorb glucose, yes. Produces digestive fats. Does 2 produces digestive fat? Produce digestive fat? No. Absorbs. So glucose absorbs digestive fats, then produces mucus. So the answer here we can go for D. Question 10. The diagram shows the transverse section of a dicot root and the dicot stem. Which tissue carries out sucrose in solution? So sucrose is carried out in the phloem, and therefore it's ara, which is the outside part. If you have this, the outside part is the phloem. Then of course the inside part is xylem. Then for this, the star-like in the middle here is the xylem. Then what is outside is the phloem. So P and D R. Let us proceed to question 11. Which condition will increase the rate of transpiration in plants? So transpiration is affected by, these are conditions: temperature, humidity, wind speed. Now, they need to be high temperature, yes. Humidity. Humidity is the amount of water vapor in the atmosphere. So the higher it is, which means the lower the rate of transpiration, because there's no concentration gradient for water to diffuse. So it has to be low, and the higher wind speed. So the answer is high, low, high. A woman has a fever or has fewer red blood cells than normal. What would be the effect of this? Now, red blood cells, they carry oxygen. So fewer of these will result into the body not get enough oxygen. Question 13, the diagram shows the transverse section of the human heart. Which labeled vessel in the vein? Which labeled vessel is the vein that carries oxygenated blood? So the one that carries oxygenated blood is D. This is called pulmonary what? Pulmonary vein. And this is the route through which blood enters the left atrium. And of course, before it goes to the ventricles, which is the left ventricles, for transportation to the all parts of the body through the aorta. Question 14. The diagram represents the liver, kidney, and some of the associated blood vessels. In which blood vessel will the blood contain the lowest concentration of urea? So the one that will contain lowest concentration of the urea is the one that has passed through the kidney and now leaving the kidney. And that is the part C. 15. The end product of anaerobic respiration in yeast cells are. So yeast cells, end product of anaerobic respiration. So we have carbon dioxide and the ethanol. What are the end product of digestion? I mean, what are the end product here? What are the end product? Is it carbon dioxide and ethanol? So ethanol is produced here. So the answer there here is that is for question 15. The answer here is carbon dioxide and the ethanol. Okay. Lactic acid is produced in lactic fermentation. Water, no. Then we have ethanol. Question 16. What happened to the diaphragm, external intercostal muscles, during inspiration? So during inspiration, the diaphragm is normally dome-shaped. So when you take in air, it flattens and contracts. So contract. Okay, so these that are relaxing, no. External intercostal muscles as well contract. So contract. So the answer is A. Have a look at question 17. The diagram shows an experiment to investigate respiration in germinating seed. Soda lime absorb carbon dioxide. Okay. Which direction does the colored water move? Which direction does the colored water move? So, is it to the left for P? Is it to the right for Q? So, this question, be able to answer it. So, this is 2016 July. So, be able to answer question 17, please. Question 18, the diagram below shows the root meristem. Which part is the region of cell division? Now, let me just give an example of a root. So a root is like this. Okay, this part is the root cap. Okay, root cap, and simply protects the root or help the root as it penetrates the soil. Then immediately here, that is where you find the cells division or cell division. Then next, going up, that is where you find elongation. Then of course up, that is where you find fertilization. I mean, that's where you find specialization. So here, to look at this part, I would say cell division is occurring at D. Now, this I would consider is the root cap. Okay, it's a root cap. Then of course this bottom part is the meristem. Okay, what do you think of this? The diagram might not be clear, but I think from here you are able to see that. Question 20, the diagram shows the life cycle of a mosquito. Which stages X, Y, Z? What are the stages X, Y, Z? So egg, hatch to, that is a larva. So this is the larval stage. Then larval becomes pupa. Then pupa, this is the adult mosquito. Is it mosquito? Yes, adult mosquito. So X is the larva. So where there's adult, no. Then Y is the pupa. Then of course adult. So the answer is D. Question 20. The diagram shows part of the dialysis machine. So the dialysis machine, we've looked at one question at some point. So blood in, then of course blood out. What is the question? Which substance in the dialysis fluid should be at lower concentration than in the blood? In the dialysis fluid should be at lower concentration than in the what? In the blood. So it is urea and salt, so that it can be lost from the blood. It can be lost to this fluid and be able to or be removed. Question 21, the diagram, the graph shows the changes in the person body temperature plotted against the time. What causes the change in the temperature below? So the temperature was high, then over a sudden it started falling to Q. Increase in temperature? No. Increase in evaporation of water in the sweat? No. Reduced blood flow through the capillary. So we are suspecting that this person would have, is it reduced blood flow? Now, if it reduces blood flow, what will happen? Which means the temperature does decreases. Then shivering, is it shivering? No, the temperature is decreasing. So shivering would increase the temperature. So increase in evaporation of water in the sweat, reduce flow through the surface of the capillary. So for me, I would go for this one. But is also B the possible answer? What do you think is the answer right here? Okay. Then what effect would an increase in glucagon have on human body? You know that glucagon and insulin, the way they work, glucagon or insulin, when you have a lot of sugar in the body, it converts it to the storage form, which is the glycogen. Then when you have low in the body, glucagon reverses or convert stored form or convert glycogen to glucose. So concentration of glucose or glycogen in the liver decrease because it converts to glucose. Then glucose increases. So the answer is A. Which of the following correctly distinguish a toxic response from a tropic response? So, toxic response involves movement of the whole organism, while tropic just parts. Which part of the brain is responsible for osmoregulation? So osmoregulation is called the hypothalamus. What about the cerebellum? What about the cerebrum? What about the cerebellum? What about the cerebrum? What about the medulla oblongata? What is the function of these parts? Which substances are deplassant? So which substances are deplassant? So alcohol is a deplassant, nicotine is not, so alcohol and heroin. So the answer is B. Okay. Where are we? We continue. Question 26. Which pair of structure focus light on the retina? So the lens refract the light so that it can come there. So the main function of a lens is diffraction. So one of the part is 4. So those that have 4. Okay, so the answer is 2 and D. No, not 4, please. We are talking of 3. So those that have 3, so we consider these 2, not this, not this. So those that have 2, which is a 3, which is a lens, and also 1. So 1 and 3. 1 is the is it a cornea? Also, much of the function is refraction of light. Question 27. The diagram below shows the bone from a forelimb. What is the name of the bone and which of the joint does it come from? So, what is the answer to this question? So, this is question 27. So, please make sure you supply the answer to this question. Question 28. A diagram shows the many bones and muscle of the arm. What happens when the muscle P contract? So when the muscle P contract, the hand is pulled up. So the arm rotates, arm is raised. So this is question 28. So the answer is C. The upper arm is raised. The diagram below shows part of or shows the form of asexual reproduction. Diagram below shows a form of asexual reproduction. What is the name given to the organism labeled P? What is the name given to the organism labeled. What is the name given to the vegetative structure labeled P? So the vegetative structure labeled P is called, what do you call this? It is called the runner. Question 30. In the plant reproduction, the following processes occur: fertilization, growth of a pollen tube, pollination, seed germination. Which order do these processes occur? Which order do these processes occur? So it all starts with pollination, which is 3. Then it comes to growth of a pollen tube. So 3, 2, 3, 2. Then fertilization, then germination of. So here the answer is a C. That is question 30. Question 31. A woman ovulates on 7th of January. In which week will her next menstrual period begin? What do you think is the answer here? Remember, for ovulation, if she ovulates on 7th, that is her day 14. Okay, so count 14 days from that. When is the menstrual period going to occur? Question 31. Which of the following statement describe the effect of smoking on a baby in a pregnant mother? So it's all about weight loss and reduced growth. So reduced growth rate and birth weight. Question 33. Which of the following parasite requires a freshwater snail to complete its life cycle? That is Schistosoma, the one for Bilharzia. 34. Which one of the following is the best effective way of avoiding HIV infection by someone who is not infected? Avoid sexual intercourse, having one sexual partner, use condom during sexual intercourse, use spermicide. So, which of the following is the most effective way of avoiding HIV infection by someone who is not infected? It might not be necessarily avoiding sexual intercourse, but consistent use of condom can prevent that. Question 35. The diagram below shows the simple version of energy flow through the food chain. What happened to the energy leaving the decomposers? So what happened to the energy leaving the decomposer is that it is lost in form of heat. Okay, lost in form of heat. Which of the following, that is question 36, which of the following part of carbon cycle? The diagram below shows the carbon cycle, which later represent phosphorylation. So phosphorylation is just a formation of fossil fuels. That is what we call phosphorylation. So here you find carbon in fuel or fossil fuel. C is phosphorylation. Which of the following is the effect of deforestation? Effect of deforestation. Increase, that is decrease carbon dioxide content in the air, decrease flooding of low-lying area, increase rainfall, increase rate of soil erosion. So it increases rate of soil erosion. An insect has 42 chromosomes. Each of its muscle cell. An insect has 42 chromosomes in each of its muscle cell. How many chromosomes are there in egg? So half of that is 21. So the answer is 21. Okay, now coming to the other question. If the alleles of, or if the allele for round seed is dominant to the allele for wrinkled. So allele for round seed is dominant. So round seed we can put capital R. Dominant for wrinkled seed we put small letter r. How many wrinkled seed can be obtained in 200 heterozygous plant to yield 1,500 round seed. So here the first thing, you're going to carry out the crossing. So you're going to put up a simple crossing, otherwise known as a Punnett square. So this is composed of 4 boxes. So there you can write R, R. They are heterozygous that you are crossing. So which means we are crossing R and R. Then we say R and R gives us R, 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 R. Then here R, R. So in other words, the ratio of the dominant, that is for round to wrinkled, is 3:1. Now that we have a ratio, we can find now the total ratio. Here we are given that 1,500 is for round one. Now they want us to find the wrinkled one. How do you do it? So the total ratio is 4. So 3, which is 4 round, is given over 4 total ratio. Multiply by the total, which is we don't know. We can put x is equals to 1,500. That is how they found 1,500 by simply multiplying the total by the that is the ratio. So here we are going to find this, multiply that is 3x equal to 15. Here I've just cross multiply by 4. So divide 3, x is equals to 5, that is 5 multiplied by, is it 5? This is 1,500, please. So which means I'm remaining with let me just do it this way. So we are going to have what I'm trying to multiply is 3x is equals to that, multiply that is going to give us 600. Divide 3, x is equals to 200, because 3 into 6 is 2. So is it 200? Yeah. This is 6,000. It's 2,000, I mean. So x is equals to 2,000. Now this was the total. Now since we want to find, you know that the ratio of what is round and also what is wrinkled, their ratio, if you add them, give you the total. So since we have the total, to find the wrinkled, so wrinkled is going to be total minus round. So what is the total? 2,000 minus okay, so to find now, since now that we have the cross of this and also the ratio, we know the ratio. So here we just needed to pick the ratio of the wrinkled or the round to the wrinkled, which is the 3:1. We'll have to find what was the total. So to find what was the total, we can say 3/4. That is, the total ratio is 4. Then 3 for round, because we are given the total for round. Multiply by x. X is the total, equals to 15. So when you find, or the ratio of the amount of the round one in the total is 1,500. And now here we can simply say this, multiply that. So we are going to have 3x here is equals to 60,000 divide 3. Also here divide 3. So we have x is equals to, this is 6,000, please. If you multiply, so 6,000, that is the, if you divide here, it's going to give you 2,000. So the total was 2,000. Now to find the wrinkled one, we are going to subtract the total minus what was for round. And this gives us 500. So the answer therefore is D. I guess you've picked something from the calculations. Finally, question 40. The diagram shows the family pedigree in which members have sickle cell anemia. Which person have 2 alleles for sickle cell? So the shaded part we are told is sickle cell. So the one that is shaded, it's not shaded, this is shaded. So the answer is A. Okay. So that is the answer to this question. Okay, so now let us look at the 2017 paper. So here is the first question. The diagram shows the guava leaf with magnification 2. If the length of the drawing is 8 centimeter, what is the length of the actual leaf? So you know that magnification, mg, is equals to image over object. So size of image over object. So the length of a drawing is this one. Magnification is given as a 2. So where is magnification, we put a 2. Then of course, length of the image is 8 over x, we do not know. So we're going to have 2x is equals to 8. Divide 2, divide 2. So x is therefore equal to 4. So the answer, or the best answer to this question, is simply A. The diagram below shows the plant. Which 2 structures in the cells are not present in the red blood cells? Now, if this is the plant cell, 1, the cell wall is not present in the red blood cell, the red blood cell being the animal cell. Then also the other part, the cytoplasm is there, the cell membrane is there. So the other part that we can look out is for this one. But if this is the nucleus, that is not true. Unless if it was pointing at this, then we say 3. We're going to say this is the chloroplast, but not sure where this arrow was pointing at. To me, it appears as if it's a nucleus. So therefore here, I will just modify and put this one to be 3, and we can go for the one that shows 2 and 3. Okay, but if this was in an exam situation, surely you'll be given a free mark, and that is something that is rarely, or something that you cannot find where they make a mistake in an exam. Those are rare cases. Question 3. What term is used to refer to the solution outside the cell whose concentration is lower than the concentration of a solution? What term is used to refer to the solution outside the cell whose concentration is lower the concentration of the solution inside the cell? So this is referred to as the hypotonic solution. So this is simply hypotonic solution. Okay, then we proceed to the next part, which is question 4. The diagram shows the lock and key model of enzyme. Which number in the diagram represent enzymes and also the substrate? So this is the substrate 1, the enzyme is 2, so 1 and 2. Enzyme 1, substrate 2. So the answer is A. Question 5. Which of the following correctly shows the deficiency disease caused by lack of vitamin C, proteins, and the iron in the body? So vitamin C, lack of it is called scurvy. Protein is kwashiorkor anemia. So the answer is D. So have a look at the deficient diseases. Okay. Then question 6, which nutrient in the diet should be increased to keep the patient healthy after suffering from malaria? Now, when someone is suffering from malaria, of course, it targets the red blood cells. Those are ones that are destroyed. So someone needs iron for synthesis of new red blood cells and, of course, hemoglobin. So the answer is C. In plants, magnesium is essential element for formation of chlorophyll. No doubt, chlorophyll. Then question 8, the diagram shows the structure of the rhizopus. Which labeled part releases digestive enzyme? So it's the rhizoid. Okay, rhizoid, which is the D. The diagram below shows the internal structure of the leaf. What part transport food nutrients? So the one that transport food nutrients, this is where you find the vascular bundle. The top part here you expect to find the xylem, and of course the bottom part you expect to find the phloem. So here the answer is A. Okay. Then question 10, an organism has the following number of teeth in the mouth: incisors 4, canines 8, premolar 10, and molar 12. What is the dental formula of the organism? Now, to come up with a dental formula, I'm going to put incisors, I'm going to put canines, I'm going to put premolar, I'm going to put molar. To come up with the dental formula, you know that is half. So half of 4 canines, that is incisors, so we're going to have 2 divide 2, or 2 over 2. Then for canines, we are going to have what? So for canines, we are going to have 4, 4, because it's 8. Then for premolar, we are going to have 5, because you see 10. Then this one we're going to have 6, 6. So I've not seen this this animal which has canines 4, 4 and all that. But anyway, coming up with the dental formula, if you look at the concept of the dental formula, the answer A would be the answer. Then question 11, the diagram below shows the part of a digestive system or tract. Which structure produces alkaline juice needed in digestion? It is B, which is the pancreas. So this one is the one that is released the alkali. So it's the pancreas, releases the pancreatic juice. Okay. This is a gallbladder, stores bile, which is released by the liver. The liver releases bile. Which structure produces alkali juice needed in digestion? So the pancreas releases that. What about D, the liver? So let us look at this. Then question 12. What changes? Have we answered all the questions, please? Yes. Question 12. What changes causes expiration, breathing out, to take place? What changes causes breathing out to take place, or expiration? So the diaphragm, that is breathing out, relaxes, so it doesn't contract. Intercostal muscles contract. Then, of course, the volume of the thorax decreases. So the answer is D. That is for question 12. Then, of course, let us look at question 13. Which of the following can help to reduce the cause of stigma to people living with HIV? So sensitization. This question has been coming over and over, and we are going to find it most of the time. So sensitization helps to reduce stigma. Then question 14, what type of immunity do babies obtain from the mother through breast milk? So that is what we call, that kind of immunity is what we call natural passive immunity. Natural passive immunity. Then question 15, in an experiment to compare water loss, four similar leaves were treated with petroleum jelly, Vaseline, and left on the table for 1 hour. You remember this question? At some point, we've answered this question. So some of the questions, I'll be pointing them out. And of course, yeah, you see that some questions can be repeated after some years. Leaf 1, upper part. So leaf 1, upper surface only covered. Then leaf 2, only, lower part only covered. Both surface covered. Then neither covered. It was exactly like this one, just maybe the phrasing and all that. Which leaf, or which of the leaf will wilt the slowest? So in other words, which one will lose water the slowest? So one of them is one that was covered both on top and at the bottom. So both surface covered 3. Then also the one that was covered at the lower surface only. Okay, covered, lower surface only covered 2. Because the lower surface contains stomata, so it loses more water at the bottom than on the top part. So if it's covered, less water will be lost, or loss of water will be reduced. So 2 and 3. Now here they are saying the slowest, which means compared to all these. So it is 3. So the answer is C. Okay, I guess you get the thing here. Which vitamin is essential for clotting of blood? So it's vitamin K, in case you didn't know. Then question 17, the diagram shows the external view of a heart. Which blood vessel is the pulmonary vein? So the one that allows blood to come back to the heart is the pulmonary vein, and therefore it's D. Okay, it's D. Okay, then question 18, which substances cannot diffuse out of the blood into the dialysis fluid through the dialysis membrane into the kidney machine? So one that cannot diffuse out of the blood into the dialysis fluid is glucose, because they are in equal concentration. So glucose are in equal concentration, so it cannot diffuse out of. So which substance cannot diffuse out of the blood into the dialysis fluid through the dialysis machine in the kidney machine? Okay. A person is digging on a hot day without drinking any water. A person is digging on a hot day without drinking water. What effect will this have on the release of antiemetic hormone and the absorption of water in the body? What would happen? What do you think will happen here? So this question I've answered from 1 up to question 18. So have a look at this one. Okay. Then question 20, which of the following is one of the effect of overproduction of thyroxine? Now, thyroxine promote, that is basal metabolic rate, by promoting respiration. So overproduction of this result into hyperactivity. Okay. Now, what result into cretinism or cretinism? What result into giantism? What result into myxedemia? Look at this, because the question might not come like this, but might come maybe on this other. So this is on endocrine system. Make sure that you look at this. Question 21, the diagram shows the leaf arc. What are the numbered neuron code? So what are the numbered neuron code? So I can start with what I know. So at least I know this is a relay. So 1 is going to be a relay, so not a motor. So this I cancel. Then of course I can look at this. I can see this. So on the outside part there, it's a sensory. Then from here, this that comes here, 3, going to the muscle. So I know that 2 is a sensory, which means 3 is the motor. So the answer here, 21, is the answer for 21 is A. Okay. The diagram shows the longitudinal section of human brain. So this is not the first time we are coming across the question on the brain. Which of the labeled part is responsible for controlling heart rate, reasoning, and the temperature? So for controlling heart rate is actually the S. Okay, heart rate is controlled by the medulla. So that is called the medulla. Okay, then for reasoning is this Q, which is the cerebrum. Okay, cerebrum. Then for temperature is actually the hypothalamus, which is P. So hypothalamus. I hope I've not gotten the spelling wrong. Then of course this is the cerebellum. What is the function of the cerebellum? If I've not gotten the spelling, should be like this. That is the cerebellum. Okay, something like this. Okay, so what is the function of this? So you need to know the function of the parts. Then question 23, the diagram below shows, or the diagram shows bones and muscles of the forelimb. Which of the following correctly identify joint P and what happened to muscle Q? So what is joint P? So for joint P is the hinge joint. Okay, it's the hinge joint. Then muscle Q. Muscle Q, what is happening here? You are moving down, so you're extending, so hinge. Then for me, if the direction is going down, what is happening when the arm is straightened? Okay, so when the arm is straightened, what happened is that Q contract, so Q contract, then of course R relaxes. So the answer therefore here we are saying hinge Q contract relaxes. So the answer we are going for C. I guess I've not gotten this wrongly. So please have a look at this. Okay. Then question 24, the diagram shows the plant shoot growing toward stimulus. Okay. What type of tropic response is illustrated? So it is growing toward, that is positive phototropism. That is light. So phototropism. So positive phototropism. Okay. Positive phototropism. Where is it? Positive phototropism. So the answer is B. Question 25, the diagram shows the longitudinal section of a seed. This is the dicot seed. What are the numbered part? So the numbered part, 1 is the promule, then of course this is the radicle. So the radicle develop into the root, then this one develop promule, develop into the shoot. Okay, we are going to find some questions that you need to know these. Okay, then what are the numbered part? So we have 1, which is the promule, then the radical. So the answer here is question 25. The answer is B. Okay, question 26. What type of asexual reproduction occur in rhizopus? So spore formation, no doubt. Question 27. Identify the types of natural vegetative propagation or reproduction illustrated by each of the following diagrams. Identify types of natural vegetative reproduction illustrated by the type or by each of the following diagrams. So this first one is what we call stem tuber or tuber. Then this is the rhizome. Then now we have the bulb. Okay, so we are looking for that answer. So where is that answer? So the answer is the tuber, rhizome, then bulb. So it is the B. Question 28. Which feature in the flower below shows that it is wind pollinated? So we have hanging or long filament. Okay, we have hanging anther here. The anther are hanging, but here the long filament stand out. So long filament, since it's the answer that is there. So long filament, then also feathery stigma to trap pollen. So all those can be features. So make sure that this, you know it. Then question 29, the diagram below shows 4 different fruits. So we have this, that. Which 2 fruits are displaced by wind? So we have this that has wings. These are wings. Then we have this that has a parachute like, okay, parachute. So it is 3 and 4. So the answer is D. This one is a fruit, so by animals. This is it has pods. Question 30. Which of the following correctly states the function of the corpus gland, prostate gland, and seminal vesicle in male reproductive system? So these are the parts that most of you do not know the function. So just from here, you should be able to know the function. So what are the functions of the corpus gland to start with. So one thing you should know about the corpus gland, that this is the pre-ejaculatory fluid. It's produced before ejaculation in male, and the main function is just to lubricate the urethra and neutralize the acidity as it prepares the sperm to pass out. So it just lubricates the urethra and neutralizes acidity, preparing for its for the sperm to for the sperm passage. That's a function of the corpus gland. So lubricate, lubrication. So where there's no lubrication are not the answers. Let us look at what about the prostate gland. So the main function of the prostate gland is just to support sperm health, okay, and of course regulate the chemical composition of the semens. So which means activates the sperms. Then the seminal vesicle. The function of the seminal vesicle is simply nourishes the sperm and of course facilitate their transport, so provide nutrients. And therefore the answer here is A. So the answer to this question is A. Okay, let us look at question 31. Let us look at question 31. So for question 31, the diagram below shows part of a human female reproductive system after copulation. Okay, what processes are taking place at point 1, 2, and 3? So what is taking place at 1 is ovulation. So this is the ovulation because the egg is produced there, as you can see. Then at 2, what is happening there? It meets with a sperm. Is it meeting with a sperm? So at 2, what happened during to that part is fertilization. Then of course implantation. So 1 is ovulation. So where is fertilization we cancel. So ovulation, then fertilization, then implantation. So the answer is C. Okay, and I guess you're conversant with this part of the topic, that is reproduction. Vasectomy is one of the methods of preventing pregnancy. Which structure in the male reproductive system is cut during vasectomy? In the previous one, we found a question where they were asking us which part is cut, and you know that it's a sperm duct. So here they're asking us now without a diagram. So what is cut is a sperm duct. Okay. So the answer is C. Question 33. Which statement correctly describes the event which takes place during interphase? So you need to know the process of mitosis, and for me, I remember it very well with this PMAT. PMAT represent this P prophase, A metaphase, that is A anaphase. So P metaphase, then M, P please, that is prophase, M metaphase, that is A anaphase, then of course telophase. But there's another process here which is called interphase. So during the interphase, the cell just prepares itself for a cell division. It acquires all the nutrients that are needed and all the enzymes that are needed. Then during prophase, the cell, the chromosome become visible, they shorten, the nucleus disappears. Then of course, during the metaphase, they align at the equator. So the chromosome align at the equator or in the middle of a cell. Then of course, during anaphase, the chromosome or chromatid are pulled away from the center. Then of course, telophase, they arrive at the end pole, and of course the nucleus forms around the chromatid. So let us look at this. Which of the statement correctly describes the event which takes place during the interphase? So during the interphase, chromosomes are replicated, ready for the next cell division. So this is the answer. And of course, I guess you know the first one, chromosomes start to coil, become short and thick. This is during the interphase. Chromosomes line up at the equator. This is during metaphase. Chromatids are pulled away from the spindle fiber. This is anaphase. Okay, so the answer is D. In a horse or in horses, red hair is dominant over brown hair. A breeder crosses number of heterozygous red-brown horses. What percentage of offspring would be red? Which one is dominant? red is dominant. So red is dominant, then brown is E. So you can put, he crosses heterozygous, so red and small letter. So again and small letter. If you are to cross this, you're going to find red. We just want to find the possible offspring. Let me just put it here. Or let me just put up a Punnett square like this. So we have red, 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 red. So we're going to have red, red offspring, red, red, then red, okay. Then here we are going to have RR. Now, here we have red, but red homozygous, red. So in other words, the ratio of red to the ratio of red, what is the other color that is there, to brown is how many reds are there? 1, 2, 3. So 3 to 1. And if we are to put this in percentage, it's just 3 over 4 multiplied by 100, which is the 75%. I guess you've gotten something. So here the answer is C, which is 75%. 35. Which of the following disease is caused by chromosomal mutation? So remember where we looked at Down syndrome. It is caused by chromosomal mutation. So Down syndrome. 36. The diagram shows the experimental setup to investigate one of the following components of soil. The water level in the U-shaped tube moves upward. Okay. What component of soil is being investigated in the above experiment? So this is your question. That is question number 36. So please answer this question and of course provide an explanation. Don't forget to tag the question, the paper from which it is coming from. Then question 37, the diagram shows the feeding relation of organisms in an ecosystem. Which organisms in the food web are herbivores? The diagram below shows the feeding relation of organisms in an ecosystem. Which organisms in the food web are herbivores? So herbivores are those that feed only green vegetables, so grass. So we have the zebra, we have the impala, we have the giraffe, we have the elephant. So we want the one that has impala, zebra, giraffe, and so the answer is A. Question 38, the diagram shows part of the nitrogen cycle. So as you can see, at which point are nitrifying bacteria involved? So this 2025 question, the question came like this. And of course, it was looking at also the parts where nitrifying bacteria are involved. So nitrifying bacteria are involved where there's a conversion of ammonia to nitrate or nitrite to nitrate. So conversion of ammonia to nitrate requires nitrifying bacteria and also nitrite to nitrate. So here is C. Question 39, the changes in the concentration of oxygen, number of fish, and number of bacteria would occur when the sewage is. So question 39, what changes in the concentration of oxygen, number of fish, and number of bacteria would occur when the sewage is discharged in what liver or in the liver? What changes in the concentration of oxygen, number of fish, and number of bacteria would occur when the sewage is discharged in the liver? So concentration of oxygen decreases because there will be more plants that grows there, and through decay process utilize a lot of oxygen. So oxygen decreases. So we don't want the one that increases. Number of bacteria will increase because they have a lot of food. Number of fish will decrease because they will die due to lack of oxygen. So therefore, the answer here, 39, the answer is B. Then finally, question 40 for this paper. Which of the following human activity help increase biodiversity of organisms? Afforestation, charcoal production, fishing, hunting. So is afforestation, which is just a planting of new trees. Up to question, 2017, that is the question for October, the paper for October, I mean. Okay, so let us look at the 2017 school certificate paper that was written on 31st October 2017. The first question is, photosynthesis is a chemical reaction that takes place in plants. Which characteristic of living organism is described by the statement? So, excretion, photosynthesis result into the making of food. So that is the nutrition, the process by which organisms make their own food. So that is nutrition. The diagram shows the compound microscope. What are the labeled parts? 1, 2, 3. So what are these labeled parts? So this is the eyepiece. This is the objective lens, and that is the stage. Okay, so one eyepiece, objective lens, the stage. So this is A. And please look at the parts of the microscope and also the function. I've not seen the microscope for some time. That is in terms of section A of paper 2. So as you prepare, make sure that you know the function of all the parts of the microscope and how it works. Question 3, a raw potato strip was placed in the solution of different concentration. The length of a strip was measured regularly. The graph shows the length of the potato strip in solution of different concentration. In which period of time was the potato strip in distilled water? Now, if the potato chip was in distilled water has more water concentration or has more water compared to the cell. So what will happen? The water will enter the cell of the potato strip, making it to increase in size. So length of the potato strip, we expect it to increase. So here we expect it to increase, and therefore here we are going for C. Question 4, the diagram shows the enzyme catalyzed reaction. Which of the following characteristics of enzymes is illustrated in the diagram? So this is enzyme specificity. And of course, I guess you know other characteristics of enzymes, such as they are protein in nature, they are affected by temperature, pH, and all that, and also that they carry out forward and backward reaction. So here, what is being demonstrated is enzyme specificity, or enzymes are specific in action. Okay. 5. The diagram shows the result of 3 tests on the food sample. So you can see filter paper, dried, then translucent spot, which means after putting the sample here, there was a translucent mark, or the transparent part. Benedict solution, after testing, it turned red, or red precipitate was formed. Iodine solution remained yellow. What nutrient were present in the food sample? So the one that turned red precipitate, it means sugars or reducing sugars were present. This that turned translucent spot, with translucent spot, this is one way to test for fats. And when the translucent spot is formed, it means that fats were present. So then the yellow solution, iodine is supposed to produce the blue-black. So the fact that it produces the yellow, which is the color of iodine, this is absent. So which were present is fats and reducing sugars. So reducing sugars and fats only. Reducing sugars, fats and reducing sugars only. So the answer here, it is B. Question 6, the table below shows some of the characteristics of 4 people. Person requires the highest energy. Which person requires highest energy intake in his or her diet? The diagram below shows the characteristics of 4 people. Which person requires the highest energy intake in terms of in his or her diet? So look at this. A, we have someone who is aged 5. This is male. Level of activity very high. Body weight 18. Then we have this one who is 20 years, male, but low activity. So the one that needs a lot of energy should have high activity, because this is energy giving. So you're going to go for high. Those that are low, we leave them out. So you're going to go for this and this. Now, between someone who is 40, which is female, with a lot of activities and body mass is 82, and the one who is 5, male, high activities, then body weight 18. Who needs a lot of energy giving food? So here, the one who needs a lot of energy giving food is A. Now, as you study, make sure that you look at what is the relationship between the body weight and of course the energy requirement. Okay, so the answer, is it C or is it A? So for the meantime, we are going to go for A. Then question 7, which of the following correctly identifies the deficiency disease of the plant nutrients magnesium and calcium? Which of the following correctly identifies the deficiency disease of plant nutrients nitrogen, magnesium and calcium? Now, nitrogen, you know that. Let us start with what we know. Magnesium produces chlorophyll. So lack of magnesium results into chlorosis, which is the yellowing of leaves. So not death of root, not slender stalk, but this or this. So already we know that the answer is either A or C. Now let us look at other things. What about calcium? Calcium is for root development, so not chlorophyll, so not chlorosis. So what are we remaining with? So here we are remaining with this, okay? Then let us look at it. So nitrogen also, though not the main function, can also be used in production of chlorophyll and also enzymes or proteins. So the answer therefore is C. Death of roots, chlorosis, and chlorosis. Okay, so these are the deficiency disease of these. What is your answer? What do you think is the answer here? Do you have a different answer? Perhaps you can explain. So put your explanation in the comment section. Let us look at question 8. The diagram shows the experiment to demonstrate photosynthesis. What is the name of the gas X? So during photosynthesis, no doubt, the gas that is produced is oxygen. So this automatically, we know that is oxygen. So this is oxygen. What do we call the type of heterotrophic nutrition where a tick is fixed to the skin of a dog and obtain nutrients? What do we call the type of heterotrophic nutrition where a tick is fixed to the skin of a dog and obtain nutrients? That is called parasitism. Now, what is mutualism? What is commensalism? What is amensalism? All these other you should also be able to know them. Okay, so in just to give you a brief of this, so in mutualism, both organisms benefit from the relation. Both organisms benefit. For example, the organisms that stay in the lumen of ruminant animals, those that stay in the intestines of let's say cow, those they benefit shelter, but at the same time they help the animal digest the food. Then for commensalism, when you talk of commensalism, one benefit, the other is not harmed. So in other words, this one benefit, but of course it does not harm the other. For example, the shark and the Ramora fish. The Ramora fish eats what remains on the body of a shark, but at the same time, for it benefits. That is, it gets how can I put this one? So the Ramora fish get rides on the shark, okay, from one position to the other. I guess you just have a look at that relationship that exists anyway. Then amensalism is where one is inhibited or destroyed while the other one thrives. That is what we call amensalism. So have a look at these heterotrophic nutrition. What are these one by one? Question 10. What is the dental formula of the animal whose skull is shown? So this skull, what is the dental formula? Now we can count. Look at this top part. Incisors, how many are they? 3. Then we can count bottom part. How many are they? 2. Okay, I can see 2 there. So look at the answers. Already we have the one that is starting with 3, 2. So which means we are going for this. Canines we can see is 1, 1. So canine 1, 1. Then we can see, so if canine is 1, 1, which means premolar is 4, 3. Then of course, so the answer is C. Okay. The diagram below shows the digestive system of a human being. Which labeled part produces gastric juice? No doubt, the stomach. Okay, question 12. The diagram below shows a respiratory organ in fish. Which labeled part gaseous exchange take place? So this question, we answered it at some point, and of course it still stands. The gaseous exchange surface is the lung, and of course specific, the filament part of the lungs. No, the filament part of the gills, please. So we are talking of the gills, not the lungs, but the gills. So again, you need to know the structure of a gill. This question came in, should be, I've forgotten the year, paper 2. So you need to know the structure of a gill and parts. So we have the gill bar, gill racers, and of course the filament. So know the parts, very important. Question 13, which of the following is a difference between aerobic and anaerobic respiration? So the one of the differences in terms of energy. And of course, please, this is one of the questions that you might expect, maybe in the essay question. What are the differences between aerobic and anaerobic? So one of them is in terms of energy. So we have more energy in aerobic respiration, less energy in the anaerobic. So here we can see carbon dioxide in aerobic is produced, no carbon dioxide is produced. Okay, lactic acid is produced, no lactic acid. More energy released, less energy. So we are going to go with this one. Which of the following is a disease? Which of the following disease is pathogenic? Which of the following disease is pathogenic? Now, peregrine is deficiency, that is lack of vitamin B12 or vitamin B. Then scurvy, that is lack of vitamin C. Sickle cell, that is it can be inherited or maybe due to lack of certain materials. So the one that is caused by the pathogen is HIV. A pathogen is just a microorganism that causes diseases. So here we are going to go for HIV and AIDS. Question 15. The diagram shows the cross-section of a dicot stem and the root. Which labeled region contains xylem vessels? So a xylem vessel is normally the inside part when you talk of these. So the inside part is the xylem. Then in this case, the star-like is the xylem. So R and D, Q, QR. So the answer is C. Okay, that is question E. That is question E 15. Okay. Then what is the answer to question 16? Peter has blood group AB. He needs a blood transfusion. From which blood group could he receive blood? You know that blood group AB is called universal recipient, which means can receive blood to all blood groups. And also you need to know the reason why. And also blood group O, you need to know that is called universal donor. Can donate blood to all blood group. And you need to know the reason why. So in this case, the answer is, since he received blood from all blood group, can receive blood from blood group A, from B, AB, and also O. Very important to understand this. Question 17. The diagram below shows the relationship between the blood, lymph, and the tissue. Blood tissue, fluid, tissue fluid. What are the substances labeled PQ and D, PQR and S? So, here P can be oxygen or glucose. So, when you say P, glucose, is that okay? Q, carbon dioxide, yeah, it's living. So carbon dioxide, yes. Then, where is it? R, plasma, yes. Then that S is lymph, yes. So the answer here, question 17, is A. Okay. All right, let us proceed to look at question 18. The diagram shows part of the nephron from a kidney. Apart from water, what other substances are present in the fluid. Why? So aside from water, so this called glomerulus filtrate, what does it contain? So this contain glucose, water, and urea. Okay, so glucose, yes. Mineral salts, yes. Proteins, no. So where there's protein should be not ticked. So this is not the answer, and also this is not the answer. Urea ticked. So now look at this. Where there's glucose should be ticked. So here we are targeting what is ticked on glucose. The top part already, look at this, glucose ticked, mineral salt, protein, no. Because it's ticked here, it's not the answer. Then here it's not ticked on glucose, so second B is not the answer. Here it's not ticked on mineral salts, so it's not the answer. It's only ticked on glucose, mineral salts not ticked, and so therefore the answer here is D. So glucose is there, mineral salts, protein not there, but urea is there. So only D is the answer. Okay. Then coming to 19, the diagram shows the section through the human skin. How do the structure numbered 1, 2, and 3 helps to regulate the body temperature on the hot day? So on the hot day, what happened on the hot day? 2, which is the erector muscle, relaxes. So this one relaxes so that the hair lies on the skin. Then the blood vessels dilates. Okay, so 3 dilates. Then this one produces less sweat. Okay, so no sweat. So let us look at the answers. Produces less sweat, 1. Produces more sweat, so less sweat. So those for more sweat, ignore them. Then 2, relaxes, yes. So there's relax. Then vasodilation, not constriction. So the answer is B. So here the answer is B. Question 20. Which hormone causes the increase in glucose concentration in the blood? Which hormone causes the increase in glucose concentration in the blood? If there was glycogen or glucagon, we would have gone for glucagon because also it converts glycogen to glucose. But here it's not there. There's adrenaline. So adrenaline, you know that is flight hormone. It prepares the body for flight. How does it do it? By increasing glucose concentration in the blood, then also oxygen absorption, increasing the breathing rate. So in other words, the answer is A. The diagram below shows part of the spinal reflex. Okay. What are the questions that follows? At which labeled part is the neurotransmitter released? So neurotransmitter are released normally at the end of the neuron, okay, where there's a gap joining the neuron to the next one. So that is where the neurotransmitter is. That's the impulse that is transmitted in terms of chemicals. So it's at the junction there. So 1 and 3. Okay. So we are going forward, please. 1 and 3 only. So the answer is B. That is for question 21. Okay. Then let us go to question 22. The diagram shows the section through the eye. As you can see, which pair of structures focus the light rays onto the retina? So this question is not the first time it's coming. It also came at some point and we've answered it. So it is this part and of course the lens. So P, R. So the answer is B. Okay, and you need to know the parts of the human eye. I did a recording that is on the topic summarized on this particular platform and also the questions answered. So have a look at that part as well. Question 23. Which of the following is the function of the synovial fluid on the joint? What is the function of synovial fluid? So the function of synovial fluid is a supplying of nutrients. So we are looking for the one that is talking about a nutrient. So supply nutrients to the cartilage at the joint, preventing dislocation at the connecting bones to bones. So the answer is D. Then question 24, which of the following distinguishes between tropic response and the taxic response? This question also we've answered it at some point, and we are going to find it again. So we answering just 2 of the 3 questions, at least we should be able to be familiar with some of the questions, okay? Or we should be able to remember the questions that we've answered. So here we are the whole organism under taxic move, only part of it. So the answer here is D. Whole organisms move, only part of the organisms move under trophic response. The diagram below shows the section through the root. So this part, we also answered it at some point, although the diagram was some kind of weird, but this one is clear. Which of the labeled part is the region of cell division, elongation, and differentiation? Now, this is the root, so everything is starting from the bottom. In fact, we've answered that of a stem, that of a shoot, and also the root. So we are answering this for a 3rd time. So cell division occurs right at the middle here. So at Z, that is where cell division occurs. Now, here we have X, Y, Z. So starting from the top, that is the differentiation. Okay? That is cell differentiation. So that is where differentiation occurs. So we want X to have differentiation. Division, no. Elongation, no. So already we have differentiation here. Let us confirm Y. That is the elongation. Is it elongation? Yes. Then division. So the answer is C. Question 26. The diagram shows some bean seed that has been left out to germinate for 4 days. Bean seed on wet cotton. Ooh. Bean seed covered with water. Why would seed in Y not germinate? This is because the seed in Y cannot receive enough. So what are the conditions necessary for germination? 1, water. There's a lot of water there. Then oxygen. Then also suitable temperature. So because it cannot receive oxygen for respiration, nitrate for growth, light for photosynthesis. So those that are talking about photosynthesis are not true because that is still a seed. It has no leaves. Then nitrate for growth. What is growing there? It's a seed about to germinate. So here the answer that remains is oxygen for respiration. That is how you look at answers. Question 27. The type of asexual reproduction is illustrated in the diagram. So as you can see, one cell is separated into 2 equal. Okay, there has not been where the cell has a growth. Then of course this growth continue growing until it separates. No, it all starts from this, then it goes to this, split into 2. This is called binary fission. And we even told that this is the fully grown amoeba. Amoeba, they are separated, or they are the cell division that they undergo is called binary fission, including bacteria. The budding is for yeast. So when you are told of yeast, just think of budding. The diagram represents one of the method of artificial propagation, that is question 28. Which of the method of artificial propagation is shown? This is the bud, and of course this is where the bud is going to stick. Now, here, the fact that we have a bud, that is called budding. So that is how you can look at it. Which structure is not necessary for wind-pollinated flowers? Wind-pollinated flowers, they should have anther, yes. They should have ovary, yes. They should have petal, no. Petal for what? Petal normally is those insect-pollinated that are colored to attract insect. They should have a stigma, yes. So the answer is C. They should not, or it's not necessary to have a petal. Question 30. Which of the following is correct about reproduction in frog? What about reproduction in frog? So one thing that you should understand that reproduction in frog is external. So these that have internal, we ignore them. So it is external. Number of eggs produced, a lot of eggs are produced. So numerous. Then care for young ones, there's no care. I don't know why here it's saying yes. But anyway, let us research. Do you have parental care in frogs? As far as I know, there's no care. The eggs are left to grow on their own, and of course the young ones. Okay, so it's external kind of reproduction. One of the questions that we expect is describe the external reproduction in frog. And that question came at some point in an essay question. So make sure that you know the external fertilization of, or external reproduction of frogs and the life cycle. Question 31, the diagram shows the developing fetus in the uterus. Where does the gaseous exchange between the mother and the fetus? Anything that has to do with the exchange, it occurs in the placenta. So people confuse transport and exchange. So the placenta is mainly for exchange, and therefore the answer is A. The umbilical cord now, when they exchanged, it transported to the baby. And the umbilical cord has the umbilical artery and the umbilical vein. Very important that you know that. Then, of course, the amniotic fluid also, you need to know the function, and also the amnion. So I've not seen this question. That is where section A is concerned in paper 2. So be expectant of this part. 32. Which of the following method is the least reliable preventing pregnancy? Which of the following method is least reliable in preventing pregnancy? Contraceptive pill. These are most used by women to prevent pregnancy, and they work well. The diaphragm method, so the diaphragm method works together with spermicide. So you insert a cup in the woman's that is in the vagina, and of course you apply also some spermicide. Lye method is safe period, where you calculate the safe days. Then vasectomy, where the sperm duct is cut. Now lye method is not reliable. What about if you miscalculate? Because periods can be they are not consistent. Sometimes ovulation occurs earlier than expected. So this one is not the reliable one. So another way, we are going for C. Question 33. A teacher made 4 statements about characteristics of pupil. She has attached ear robe. She is 167 centimeter tall. She is light in complexion. She has blood group A. Which statements describe characteristics that show continuous variation? So we looked at these kind of questions where we are coming from. So continuous variation is the one that shows that has intermediaries between, and one of them is height. So when you say she's 167 centimeter, that is height. So that is height. Then compression, the color skin. You are aware that we have different colors. We have black people, we have green people, no, not green people, please. We have white people, we have different complexion. So this itself complexion has different intermediaries. So it's therefore is 2 and 3. So we are looking for the one that has 2 and 3, which is the C. So have a look at this part for variation, please, under genetics, and examples on each. So let us have a look at 34. The following events take place in one of the stages in meiosis. The chromosome arrive at a pole, that is when they arrive at a pole, that is what you call telophase. The spindle fibers disappears. Okay, the spindle fibers disappears. Chromosome disappears by unwinding and becoming longer. The nucleus and the nuclear membrane reappears. Which stage of meiosis is this? So actually this one is what we call telophase. Okay, so spindle fibers, and we have here chromosome. Chromosome disappears by unwinding and becoming longer, spindle fibers. So this is what we call telophase 1. What is the reason why do you think is telophase 1? Or what is the reason why you think telophase 1 is not the answer? So for me, I'm basing my argument on the chromosome. Okay, so chromosome arrive at the opposite pole. Okay, what is your answer to this question? Question 35. The diagram below shows the inheritance of sickle cell in a family. The allele for normal hemoglobin is represented by H, and the allele for defective hemoglobin is represented by small letter h. So capital letter H, it means normal hemoglobin, then small letter h, defective. Now this characteristic is recessive, which means it can only be expressed when both alleles are small. Which child is which child is homozygous recessive? Homozygous recessive, which means has small letters. So if you look at this crossed against that, that is H, H. So it's D. The dichotomous key below was used to classify organism W, X, Y, and Z. The dichotomous key was used to classify organism W, X, Y, and Z. Which organism is a virus? So I don't know if the dichotomous key still comes in our syllabus, but it has been some time I saw the question. And this is the first question that I'm seeing. So how does it work? So always you have two parts. So for example, on the first one, you have this organism described. One has a cell wall. Then second part does not have a cell wall. So if you say this organism has a cell wall, it will direct where you're going to go. So go to 2. If you're saying it has a cell wall, go to 2 and describe it further. When we go to 2, we are going to find the cell wall is made of chitin. If it is made up of chitin, then that is W. But if it is not made up of chitin or it is made up of cellulose, that is the X. The same organism. Now, you can also say it does not have a cell wall, then it directs you go to 3. When you go to 3, you are going to find cell wall. When you go to 3, you are going to find has a cell membrane. If it has a cell membrane, that is Y. But if it has a protein coat, that is Z. Now here we are told which one describe a virus. I don't know if it is going to be of benefit even if I explain it, but anyway, the virus has no, so the virus has no, it has no cell wall, so does not have a cell wall. It takes us to 3. So 3 has a protein coat, yes. So the virus therefore is Z. That is the answer here, which is D. Okay, under Cambridge, this one is very important. This one, normally these questions do come, but under ECZ, it has been some time really. Question 37, the table below shows the samples A, B, C, D, collected from different fields and their pH was attested. Which soil sample could be improved by adding lime? So the one that would be improved by adding lime. Now you add lime to the acidic soil to improve it. So which one is acidic? The one that is acidic is the one that has a pH less than 7, which is 6. So the answer is A. The following is a simple food chain. Grass, rabbits, eagle. What could cause the highest increase in rabbits? So rabbits, look at this. These arrows shows who is feeding who. So the grasses are eaten by rabbits and rabbits are eaten by the eagle. Now to have the highest number of rabbits, we need to have a lot of what? A lot of grasses. So a lot of these, then few of these. So less grass, few eagles. No, more grass, few eagles. So the answer is C. Question 39. The table below shows the population of mice on a large farm over a period of years. Okay. What could have caused the change in the population size of mice between 4th and 5th year? Okay, so this question is yours. Please answer this one. Be able to indicate and of course provide the brief explanation so that we all learn from you. If there's something that I take time to read comments. And of course, some of you, the way you present your work is very difficult. You find that you are commenting on the video that I recorded 2 years ago, and I have even no idea. You just ask, why did you find B? How do I know 2 years ago? I've forgotten totally. So if you give a bit detail to that question, I'll be able to make a follow-up and of course check and provide the answer. So if you've not gotten the answer to the questions that you ask, could be, I have no idea of what you're saying. In other words, the way you put up your question is something that is very difficult for someone to follow. Question 40, the diagram shows part of the water cycle. What process is represented by X? So where the plant loses water, this is called transpiration. So the answer is D. Alright, I hope up to this point you've enjoyed the lesson, and please do not forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel, invite others, make sure that you share with others. Let us grow this platform. Otherwise, we can continue, and now we look at the 2018 school certificate paper that was written on 30th October 2018. And one thing that you should have noticed is that exams used to come earlier than now. Let us look at the first question. Which of the following characteristics of living organism is defined as the ability to detect and respond to stimuli? Okay, so let us look at the 2018 paper, that is school certificate, that was written on 30 October 2018. And the first question here was, which of the following characteristic of living organism is defined as the ability to detect and respond to stimuli? So one thing I should tell you now is that it's very important they should go through the characteristics of living organism. So the one that is defined as such is the irritability or sensitivity, the ability to detect and respond to stimuli. The diagram below shows the two different cells, which feature is found in both the cells. Which feature? So, no doubt, the cell membrane. We do not have the cell wall in the animal cell. So this is the plant cell. This is the animal cell. So for the sake of preparation of paper 2, make sure that you know these and their differences. Then the central vacuole, no. The chloroplast, no. So the answer is A. A piece of plant tissue is transferred from the beaker of pure water into the beaker containing salt, containing 20% of salt solution. Which of the following correctly explains what happened in the experiment? So it was taken from distilled water. So this one is less concentrated when it is put in the 20% solution, which means the solution outside is more concentrated compared to the inside cell, and therefore it is going to lose water. So movement of water. Water is going to leave the cell, so not enter but leave. Then what happens? The volume of a tissue. So when water leaves, it decreases. So the answer here we are going for C as the answer. Okay. Then we continue to look at question 4. The diagram below shows an experiment on the digestion of protein in the egg albumin by protease. Protease was taken from the stomach of human being. Now, if it was taken from human being stomach, it works well at an acidic pH. That is one thing should come to your mind. Which test tube will the protein be digested mostly? Look at this. The first part, egg albumin plus protease. Okay, let us see B. Egg albumin plus hydrochloric acid. C. Egg albumin plus hydrochloric acid plus protease. So here there's no protease, so no enzyme to digest. Here there's no, it's just protease, but there's no HCl. You know that the function of HCl in the stomach is to keep the pH at T suitable for the enzyme to act. So here there's no HCl. That's why we are saying the answer is not correct, because the pH will not be acidic. Then 3, egg albumin plus hydrochloric acid and protease. This one looks like it. What is missing here? The enzyme. Then the other one, egg albumin plus hydrochloric acid, boiled protease. So here the problem, there's boiled protease. So boiled protease, it means it was denatured, so it cannot work. So therefore the answer we are going for C. I guess you've gotten a thing here. 5. Different food samples were tested for nutrient content. The test results were recorded in the table below. Which food sample contained both glucose and oil? So Benedict solution tests for sugars. So those that have ticked, it means sugars were present. So different food samples were tested for nutrient content. The test results were recorded in the which of the food contain both glucose? So both glucose and fats. So both glucose, where there's Benedict solution, expect them to be ticked. So already these, we don't need them. Then what else are we looking for? Fats. Ethanol emulsion. So where there's fats, should be ticked. So since we cancelled out these, already this stand out. So butyrate should not be there, which is protein. This ethanol should be positive. Ethanol emulsion should be positive. Then iodine test should be absent. So the answer here is B. So the answer here is what? The answer is B. Question 6. The table below shows the amount of protein and fats in 100 grams of some food. Which of the food have the best value for bodybuilding? So bodybuilding are proteins that are involved. So you're looking for the one that has high protein. So we have this one with the 18 and this one with 18. What is that? Meat and the fish. So meat and fish, which is the D. So the answer here is what? Is the D, meat and the fish. Question 7. What are the effects of lack of magnesium? Now, magnesium is needed for chlorophyll. Okay. Nitrate is needed for proteins or amino acids. Okay, amino acid or protein in the growth of plants. So what are the effects of lack of magnesium ion and nitrate to plant nutrients? So lack of magnesium, leaves go yellow and the veins. Yes. So this is the only one that we have yellowing of leaves, unable to form enzymes. So the answer is A. It's as simple as that. Question 8. The diagram below shows an experiment to investigate photosynthesis. The flask containing leaf P has potassium hydroxide. So anything hydroxide removes what? Carbon dioxide. While the other one has the water. Water puts carbon dioxide. Okay. Now, after exposing the potted plants to sunlight for 10 hours, a leaf P, so leaf P is coming from where there's hydroxide. So here there was no carbon dioxide. Okay. It was tested for starch and had no starch, while leaf Q contained a lot of starch. What does it show? So here, when it was tested, it became positive for starch. Then this one was negative. It was expected because carbon dioxide was absent. So a leaf cannot make starch without carbon dioxide. Yes, because photosynthesis cannot take place without carbon dioxide. It's one of the raw material. Okay. Question 9. What do we call the type of symbiotic relation in which one species benefits from another without either harming or benefiting that other species? This is what I said. You need to know about those symbiotic relationships. So that is called commensalism. That is called what? Commensalism. Which part of the tooth is the hardest? So the hardest part of the tooth is the enamel. And what is it made of? What material is it made of? So be able to comment. Put your answer in the comment section. Indicate the paper that you're answering and the question number. If possible, indicate also the question. What part of the tooth is the hardest? Then you put the answer. It will be very easy for me to look at it. Question 11. The diagram below shows part of the alimentary canal in human being. Which of the labeled part produces acidic juice? So this question, we've answered it at some point as well. So meeting this question should be very easy to answer. So you see the stomach. Question 12. The gaseous exchange in an insect is mostly achieved by diffusion. Mostly achieved by what? By diffusion. So the answer here is C. Okay, let us proceed. Yeast, warm water, and substance Z were put in the test tube. So yeast, warm water, and substance Z. So already here is respiration, and substance Z should be glucose. Okay, the apparatus was set up as shown. After a while, the lime water began to go cloudy. So respiration took place and the carbon dioxide was produced. What is substance Z? So substance Z is glucose. Which of the following is not a myth about HIV and AIDS? It is transmitted by sexual intercourse, talking to infected person, hugging, casual shaking of hands. So the answer is C, sexual unprotected sexual intercourse with someone who is HIV positive. Roots of acid ring were placed in a solution containing red dye as shown. What was the path of red dye after it had entered the root? So this question, you are going to answer it. So make sure that you answer this question and of course provide the question number and the year and of course the answer. Question 16, which of the component of blood helps to absorb huge amount of oxygen? Is red blood cells. Red blood cells. Question 17, the diagram below shows the section through the human heart. What happens to the valve R and S as blood leaves the ventricles? Okay, what happened to valve R and S as blood leaves the right ventricle? Okay, so the right part of the heart is this side, left part. So as it leaves the ventricles going this side, this closes, so the valve S close, then the valve here opens as the blood, or to allow the blood to pass. So S closes. This closes because it prevents the blood from flowing back into that part. So S closes, R opens. So opens, closes. So the answer is C for 17. Okay. We continue. The diagram below shows the dialysis machine. So far we've answered 3 questions on the dialysis machine. So as you can see, blood in, blood out. What is the question? The substance in blood at X, okay, which should not be found in blood Y is Z. This question is more like repeated exactly as a question that we saw at some point, and the arrangement of answers as well. So the one that should not be present at Y is urea, because when the blood enters here, urea is removed from the patient's blood. As it come back or come out to the patient, urea is removed. That is how the dialysis work. But explore more on this part. Okay? The graph shows the changes in the blood sugar concentration during the period of rest and the light exercise. Which of the following could have caused the change in blood sugar level between P and Q? So P and Q. What has happened? The blood sugar level has gone up. Now look at this. Glucagon released by the liver, glucose released by the liver, glycogen released by the muscle, insulin released by the pancreas. So insulin reduces glucose level. Glycogen releases by the muscle. So glycogen cannot be released by the muscles. Glycogen itself cannot increase the sugar level because it is in a storage form. Glucose released by the liver. Okay? Glucose released by the liver? No. Glucagon released by the liver. So glucagon, when this is released, it convert. Why I'm going for this? When it is released, it convert the glycogen into glucose. But wait, is the glucagon released by the liver? That is a big question. So what is your answer on this particular part? Let me see your reasoning. Question 20, the diagram below shows the reflex arc. Which structure is the motor neuron? So the motor neuron is the one that is direct to the muscle. So look at the arrows. So the traveling of the impulse, so when it is going to this side, which means this is the sensory, which is A, then the relay, then of course the motor. So the motor neuron is here is what? Is B. We've looked at the structure of the brain at some point. The diagram below shows the section through the human brain. Which part controls balance and muscular coordination? Which one controls balance? So the one that controls balance is this one, which is the cerebellum. Okay, which is the cerebellum. So I said make sure that you know each of the parts of the brain. What part is this? What part is it? What part is this? What part is that? Okay, make sure that you know all this and their functions. Question 22, what is the function of the Eustachian tube in the ear? So the Eustachian tube is thus equalizing of pressure. Okay, so equalize air pressure on the eardrum and prevent the eardrum from bursting, especially during the rotational movement and all that. So the answer here is B. The diagram below shows the bone over the human arm. What are the question? What are the numbered parts? So which parts? So this is the scapula. This is the scapula. This is the humerus. Humerus. What about this one? So look at the answers. So for the answers, so far we have the scapula. That is for 1, we have the scapula, then humerus. So the one that is starting with a scapula, so this is no, scapula, humerus. Scapula, humerus. Now on this part we are stuck. Is it the radius or is it the ulna? So how do you know them? So these, make sure that you master them. So the one that is the, look at this. This part, is it inside or outside? So the one that is on the, is it on the outside part anyway? So that is what you call the radius. So the answer therefore here is C. How do you master them? You look at the one that is on the outside part, on the inside part. Which one is the radius? Which one is the humerus? I mean, which one is the ulna? Okay. Question 24. The following diagram shows the invertebrates in a glass container and exposed to light. At the beginning of the experiment, and of course after 30 minutes, which response is exhibited by these invertebrates? So they run away from light. So that is what we call negative phototaxis. Negative phototaxis. The diagram below shows the seedling. Which part is the plumule? So the one that grows into the shoot, which is A. Question 26. In addition to suitable temperature, which other factors are necessary for germination? Carbon dioxide under sunlight? No. Mineral ions only. Sunlight only. Water and the oxygen. So the answer is D. Okay. Question 27. Which of the method of propagation is illustrated? This is the runner. And this is the not first time we are answering this question. So where we are coming from, we had answered such a question. Question 28. The following diagram shows the longitudinal section of the flower. Which structure would pollen grain be deposited? So at A. The diagram below shows 2 fruits. What are these fruit dispersed? How are these fruit dispersed? So this one has a parachute. This one has wings. So all these is by wind. So wind, which is D. The diagram below shows the side view of a female reproductive system in which labeled part is zygote formed. So zygote is formed in B, where fertilization takes place. That is the fallopian tube. So please, you shouldn't just focus on the front view. Make sure that you know also the side view. As you can see, this is the ovary, this is the those tube. Okay, it goes to the uterus, then of course down there. Question 31. The diagram below shows the calendar for March and April with 4 days shaded. Menstruation for the woman start on the 14th. So the menstruation start on 14th, during which of the shaded region was the lining of the uterus at its thickest. Now, the thickening of the uterus starts before menstruation. Okay, so we expect the days that are behind 14, not the one that are ahead. So it is not 15, it is not 24, it is not exactly 15, but it is somewhere there. Okay, because there's a process where it bursts, then blood starts coming out. The actual day of menstruation is 14, so expect it to be thickened before, or to be thickest before the actual date. So the answer therefore is A. But hey, what is your answer here? Question 32. Which method of contraception is the most effective in preventing the spread of disease such as syphilis and HIV? So we need a barrier method. And in this case, diaphragm method, no. That is a male Condom, so this is the most effective. Oral contraceptive, no. Spermicide, no. So this is the most effective, which is B. Question 33. Which of the following is obtained when the diploid cell undergo mitosis? Oh, meiosis. So meiosis is half the number. Okay, this is meiosis, half the number. Now, during mitosis, genetically identical offspring or are obtained, genetically identical offspring. But during meiosis, there's they're not genetically identical in other words. So there's variation. So genetically different diploid, not diploid but haploid, genetically different haploid, genetically identical diploid, genetically identical haploid. No. So it's genetically different haploid cells. A pure breeding tall plant was crossed with pure breeding dwarf plant of the same species. The resulting seeds were collected and grown to produce the next generation. What were the approximate percentage of the tall and dwarf offspring? So, pure breeding tall. Pure breeding tall, it means TT. Closed with pure breeding dwarf, which means TT, of the same species. The resulting were corrected and grown to produce the next. So, if this is closed, it is going to produce T. Then now next was closed. So you're going to have T. You're going to have what? T. Then this closed and that T. Then this and that. You're going to have T. So this is the ratio of 3 to 1. Now what is the question? What were the approximate percentage of tall and dwarf offspring? So if I look at this is 100%, third of 100% is 75. So 75 to 25. So dwarf 25, then 75. So the answer is B. What is the correct order of arthropods from those with the most legs to those with fewest legs? What is the order of organisms here? So have a look at also this under classification. So the order here is myriapods, crustacean, arachnids, and the insects. So D. The diagram below shows the experiment conducted to find out the proportion of one component of the diagram below shows the experiment conducted to find the proportion of one component in the soil. What component of soil was or is being investigated? So you have the soil there, 42 cubic centimeter soil, end of experiment. So mixture stirred. Then what happened? So look at this. This was at 30. Then when it was put here at 30, that was the initial of water. Then of course it went to 50. So 30, the soil covered the 30 part. Then the displaced water, you expected it to be what? So you expected to be 60 to double, but part of it was missing. So here what was being investigated is air. Air left there. There was air that was removed or bubbled out. What do you think is the answer to this question? Okay. During, dung beetles lay their eggs in the dung of plant eating mammal like cattle. Both the adult beetles and their young stages eat the undigested food in the dung. Which of the following shows the feeding relation? So dung beetles lay their eggs in the dung of plant eating mammals like cattle. Both the adult beetles and their young stage eat undigested food. So the undigested food in the dung is grass. It's not digested. So this is eaten by the cattle, also is eaten by the what? Dung beetles. Grass, cattle, dung beetles. if you say this, it means dung beetles eat cattle. If we say dung beetles, grass, so it means grass eat dung beetles. If we say cattle eaten by dung beetles, grass eaten or also eats cattle. So the answer here is grass is eaten by the cattle, then grass is eaten by the dung beetles. This eats the grass directly, this eats the grass from the animal. I don't know if you get that. Otherwise, the answer that we can go for here is the answer which is D. The diagram below shows the parts of a nitrogen cycle. Which of the processes labeled is nitrification? What is nitrification here? What is nitrification? Okay, so nitrification involves the conversion of ammonia to soil nitrate. So D is nitrification. The diagram below shows the position of a river where water sample were taken. So this is a river and water sample was taken from here. Now X and Y, direction of flow of or water flow. So water flows to this direction. Untreated sewage poured here. Then we have X, Y, YZ. Which graph best describe oxygen concentration? So at X and Y, there is higher oxygen concentration, but when it gets to Z and D, Y and Z, or what I'm saying is that at W and X, there's higher oxygen concentration, high oxygen. Why? Because water is freshly coming here. But the moment untreated sewage are introduced, here oxygen concentration reduces. So high oxygen concentration and X and Y. So this is not the one. High oxygen concentration at W and X. So this is not, because showing that there's less oxygen and it increases. Then high oxygen concentration and X and Y. Then it increases on Y and Z. No. So the only that is making sense is high oxygen concentration on X and Y. But of course on Z and D. Why am I saying X and Y? High oxygen concentration at W and X, then low oxygen concentration and Y and D, at Y and D, Z. So this one is one that is making sense. I guess we've gotten the explanation here. Question 40, which of the following must be controlled